Since its creation in 1962, our favorite Webhead has been swinging through comics, cartoons, and feature films with great style. For a character that was originally considered to be one of Stan Lee's worst ideas ever, it's funny to think that Spider-Man has not only become one of the most recognizable superheroes of all time, but that he has also had the most solo Marvel films. What may be even more surprising to find out is that the newest film, Spider-Man No Way Home, holds the second place spot for highest opening weekend box office in the entire film industry. But what made this film so great? Well, that's not an easy answer, but that's why we're here to discuss it with you today. Joined by our assembled geeks of the Roundtable, we are ready to swing into action. So refill your web shooters, get J Jonah his photos, and make sure Ned's in the chair. It's time for Season 3, Episode 3, Spider-Man. With a great movie must also come a great review. Please stand by.
Hey, listen!
This is The Bear and the Beard Podcast, Season 3.
Hello there.
Your hosts are just two nerdy guys, talking nerdy things.
That's quite nerdy.
This Nerdtastic Duo sits down every episode, sometimes with friends and guests, to explore a new topic related to nerd or pop culture.
Oh yeah!
They may disagree or argue sometimes, and you may not always agree with them.
I beg your pardon.
But please remember, this show is mostly their opinion with some research and facts added in along the way.
To be fair. To be fair.
The overall goal is to spread knowledge and love throughout the fandoms and to have fun doing it. Welcome to the conversation. Let's get nerdy with it.
Here we go.
All right. Sorry to yell in your ear there, but we've been really excited to do this episode. Welcome back to another episode of the Bear the Beard Podcast. I am Robert the Bear. As always, I'm joined by my majestically bearded faithful co-host, Bearded Brian Guy, the Beard. Brosius Mayo, my guy.
Mayo Brosius, my dude, and we're glad to be joined by an awesome panel again. We got my brother and Spider-Man expert, Dustin the Goatee.
Yes, and my brother, also a Spider-Man expert. We have Chef Mantis joining us back, and resident Spider-Man / Peacemaker / Daredevil / just
He's an
overall
expert.
nerd. Jay from Fandom for All. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the show. Because all of y'all have been on once before, at least. So glad to have y'all.
Did we like No Way Home?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I thought it was
Not
an
at all.
alright movie.
All right,
Great.
all
Oh my
right,
God.
dude. Okay,
Loved it.
do we need to kick you off your own podcast, Brian?
Brian is
No, I
sus.
loved it.
Brian is sus this
Me,
episode.
Dustin, and our little brother Cohen all went and saw it together, and we were screaming in the theater along with everyone else.
Oh yeah. Oh man, dude, so many emotional highlights in that one. Like,
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
I mean, we can talk about spoilers, obviously. So, freaking Daredevil.
Well,
Oh,
okay, so
We're gonna-
to start this whole thing off, before we get way too far into it, the
Okay.
reason we're putting this episode out so late, because we could have done this weeks ago,
Yes.
is because we wanted all of the spoiler stuff to be done with. So I'm not putting our normal spoiler warning here. This is just
If you
know
click
what
on the
this
episode,
episode's
you know
about.
what we're talking about. Yeah.
So we can't keep going, oh, spoiler. Look, if you haven't seen it yet, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you missed out on a good movie. But at this point, you're watching the episode, so this is your time to turn it off, go watch it. Or
And if
is it
for
even
some
still
reason-
in theaters?
I don't think so.
I don't. Is it?
Oh, it is.
Some places.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's making bank.
If you haven't seen it and you want a little bit of this episode before you click away, you can listen to our next segment. That is Mama Bear's Fun Facts.
I don't get paid enough. I don't get paid, period.
And now it's time for Mama Bear's Fun Facts.
That's it. That's all I know.
Actually, after looking at the fun facts that Mama Bear has provided us this week, they have some spoilers in them too. So, again, if you haven't seen the movie, you might want to dip out now. Come back and listen though, like later after you've seen it, or or maybe go do your own spoiler research so that we're not spoiling anything for you. That'd be a good idea too. But so the way we normally do this, we have 5 people. We have 5 fun facts. Let's break them down. Fun fact number 1. Since their appearance in the film was kept so under wraps, both Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire couldn't attend the red carpet premiere of the film like Tom Holland and the rest of the cast. So, what did they do? They both dressed in a quote-unquote somewhat disguise and went to an opening night screening together.
That's just
John
I love
Watts
when they talk
tale.
about it because like they got to have that fun little sneaky experience. And
The baseball cap and the sunglasses.
Yeah, so they were Team Cap.
Team Cap, yep. Oh my gosh, dude.
Oh, that's just hilarious.
Yeah.
But then we got fun fact number 2. It was no secret that Willem Dafoe would be returning as the iconic role of Norman Osborn, Green Goblin. But what did surprise a few fans is that the now 66-year-old acting icon only agreed to be Osborn once more if he could do his own stunts. So 66 years old, and this guy's still doing stunts.
Yeah, I mean, he wanted to be like, he was like, not only is it a requirement, it's like, I want to come up with some of the stuff that I do and stuff like that. When you like hear interviews and stuff, it's really, really cool. Fun fact number 3, Chef Mantis, could you give us that one, please?
Spider-Man's name is Peter Parker.
Right, so turns out Tom Holland isn't the only blabbermouth over at Marvel. Marissa Tomei, who we all know plays Aunt May, wonderfully by the way, actually told her therapist that the ending of Spider-Man No Way Home before it was released because she just had to tell someone, quote unquote.
Yeah. That's
Well,
So-
I mean, if you're gonna spoil it to anyone, your therapist is kind of the best person because if they release that information, they're technically breaking the law.
that's true. That's true. But I do love the fact that like Tom has gotten so much ridicule, and we'll talk about that more as we get into the episode because there's actually some fun stuff about that that we can talk about going moving forward. He's finally starting to learn from Jeremy Renner on how not to spoil things, and it shows. So, Goatee, could you give us fun fact number 4, please?
All right, though his character picks up from the film Spider-Man 2, Doc Ock, his character was slightly changed due to the tentacles. The tentacles were originally controlled by puppets in the original film, and then in this one, it is all completely CGI.
Yeah, complete CGI, which I didn't know until a couple of months ago that they were even like, it was a huge mechanism, like had a dude in a chair, controlling these tentacle arms and stuff like that. But yeah, it's completely CGI this time around, which, I mean, technology's changed.
There was actually some funny stories about that. Tom Holland, I believe it was, said in an interview that every now and then you'd be talking with Alfred and he'd just go away. He had no choice in it. They take him away. Bye.
It's like, all right, Alfred's coming with us now. Goodbye. That's awesome. We got this fun fact specifically for you there, Jay. This one's all about Daredevil. Could you give it to us, please? Fun fact number 5.
Of course I can. Charlie Cox has entered the MCU as Matt Murdock. And this is awesome for a lot of reasons. One such reason is that, of course, this meetup is rooted in the comics. In The Amazing Spider-Man 16 from 1963, Spider-Man gets to meet Daredevil for the very first time. What's fun about this issue is that Matt Murdock is truly fascinated with Spider-Man. He pays close attention to Spider-Man from a distance and is able to distinguish his age, height, and his weight. Unbeknownst to Spider-Man, he actually meets Matt Murdock at the beginning of the issue. He is not aware of Murdock's presence at the circus until after all the bad guys are taken care of.
That's so cool. that reminds me a lot of the whole. I think we've said this before when we were talking about Batman, but like how Bane figures out that Batman is Bruce Wayne off such a small thing. So like Daredevil, he might not have known that it was Peter Parker, but from listening to his pulse, paying very close attention to him, even in the comic books, it's like that's a kid. Like they're calling him Spider-Man, it should be Spider-Lad. You know?
Spider-Boy.
Right?
Probably I could tell by smell too, because like he pick up some people's scents.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Well, those are some awesome fun facts. Thank you, Mama Bear, for giving us those.
Thank you.
And like I said, we'll talk more about those as everything progresses. So,
I love
my wow.
I love how this movie picks up right where the last one left off. Like, Mysterio reveals that Spider-Man is Peter Parker, and the world just knows, and it literally picks up right there.
Yep.
I got some Incredibles 2 vibes.
Uh-huh.
Now that you mentioned
I didn't think about it, but yep.
Yep, you're right. The Underminer.
The Underminer.
I'll always beneath you, but nothing is beneath me.
And J.K. Simmons coming back for J. Jonah. I mean, come on.
Yes.
Dude,
That's
he's
amazing.
You
There's
Just
a
great.
point where you have to admit there's no one else that could do something.
Nope.
Not
Yeah.
now. Not now.
Never.
I mean,
No.
maybe in a time before the original Spider-Man movie, but no.
But okay, and I know this is completely out of order, but we're talking about the beginning of the movie. We're talking about J. Jonah. I'm a little just like a fraction of disappointment for the fact that Toby didn't get to say anything about it. Like we never saw a scene where Toby's like, "Oh, he's a jerk in this universe too," or something. Just something, you know. Like,
I guess some people are like that in every universe.
yes,
A fact I'm very proud of.
something like that would have been great. But
He's a
like I said, it's a
multiversal
fraction. Like
consistency.
the fact that he's selling supplements, like
Daily Bugle supplements. The only other daily fix you need.
Look, we took a relative who is a former involved with loves Alex Jones, and everyone in the room's head, turns at this one person when the supplement thing comes up. Hysterical. Genius.
you do realize that just because you have a show that thousands of people listen to, that you don't know anything about medicine. No? Okay, let's continue.
By the way, try this new pill.
Right.
Um,
So it picks up right where it left off. The
world is kinda
him
split.
running away scene was really cool. Like
Great.
just the
a lot happened in that scene.
what was the
yeah, it was very
what was
fast-paced.
they land on top of the bridge and he calls Ned. It's like
Dude.
And he's like, dude, we're on top of a bridge.
I feel like they stole that from Dude, Where's My Car? It was like the tattoo scene. What does mine say? Dude, what does mine say? Sweet.
Sweet.
And then I love how the little moments where we get to see that they've actually had a little bit of a relationship before this happened. So that the end credit scene that we get in Far From Home doesn't take place directly after the events of Far From Home. It's a little bit after, because he says that he thought that her dad liked him.
Mm-hmm.
And well, not now. The world knows you're Spider-Man.
Right.
I thought that was pretty funny.
There was also they paid homage to the Raimi universe as well. In that scene when he lands next to Mary Jane MJ.
Yeah.
Before he grabs her up, there is a line that connects the two universes. You're just a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was said on the train in Toby's movie.
Yeah, it's Spider-Man 2.
They said
Second
he's
one.
just a kid
When
when
they take his mouth
when
off.
he saved everybody. So
And-
different context, but same line.
Well,
Absolutely.
the bridge
I didn't
that
even
they
catch
land
that.
on, the bridge they land on in that bit is the same cable car bridge that he fights the Green Goblin on.
Oh, dude,
The first
yeah,
one.
that's right.
Really?
And MJ falls off of, and he has to jump and save her off of.
Yep.
It's the whole save Mary
there's
Jane
some-
or save the children. Either way, you'll fail.
I wonder how many Easter eggs they had in this movie that I didn't even think of because of how much awesome stuff was happening on the screen. Because they overloaded us.
I know we don't normally promote like outside of our, like we promote Jay, we promote the Knights of the Nerds Table. Shout out to Josh. He's gonna have a segment in this episode somewhere. Like we're gonna do a just get his review on it or something. But
But Screen Crush
has some of the best videos for spotting Easter eggs. I watched one. I think the one for Spider-Man No Way Home, like without the end credit scenes. I think it was like 73 Easter eggs you might have missed.
Yep.
And I'm just like, what? Like that's insane. But yeah, they crammed that many into, and Marvel knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
They
use location, and that's what I love. Is when little things like that harken back to the past, and Doc Ock and that bridge being right above the water that he sinks into at the end of Spider-Man 2 is just so awesome. That's where he comes out of when they bring him through. It's just great.
I'm happy that they didn't make the entire world hate him, that he still has like some people who think he's a good hero. That Mysterio didn't fool everyone. It's really split 50-50 is kind of how they perceived it. Like half the people think he's a piece of crap, the other half think he's a hero.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean, it's kind of like the whole thing
affects his life.
Yeah, and that's the same thing they did with Infinity. After Infinity War in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Like some people, Thanos was right.
Yeah,
there's that whole contingency, the Flag Smashers. Like, hey, we gotta, even though he was right, we got to do better.
Yep.
So yeah,
our Spider-Man was facing some pretty big legal troubles, but those got cleaned up pretty fast. He had like a really good lawyer, guys.
He had a really good lawyer.
Yeah.
Jay, do you want to talk about his pretty good lawyer?
Look, man, here's a little Easter egg that I loved. In Hawkeye episode 6, in the finale episode of Hawkeye, the opening scene where we get, the establishing shot is Kingpin's cane. And the establishing shot of Matt Murdock in No Way Home is Matt's cane. And I just thought that was so rad. And I eat that alive. But just, the whole thing, him sitting across the table from Jon Favreau, who played Foggy Nelson alongside Ben Affleck.
Didn't see the movie. I'm sure it's a funny joke, but I didn't see it.
We mentioned that in our last episode, our Hawkeye episode. We love those parallels.
And then, of course, the brick. Just catching the brick and Peter's hand going to catch it. And
how'd you do that?
How'd you do that? I'm just a lawyer.
I just have this weird feeling that, he's definitely going to have a bigger presence in the fourth one, I think. And
I didn't think that he was going to show up that quick. As soon as he showed up, Dustin and I both looked, because we're sitting right next to each other. We both figured like, bro. And the theater went wild.
Oh, yeah.
Freaked out.
This was not a movie where you want to go to this was not like a quiet theater movie.
No.
Right.
Not at all.
I would be interested to see if Doctor Strange's spell worked on someone as perceptive as Matt Murdock. I mean, I would really be interested to see if he could remember Peter's heart, if he could remember his pulse or something that he just subconsciously and reflexually.
Well, and someone had mentioned that they think that the spell only affected those on Earth. So any of our heroes who might be in space
remember. Right.
Well, and Thor and anyone else who might even slightly know who he is, who's not on Earth, could. But this is not Marvel confirmed. This is just what people have been saying. They think how they're perceiving it. They think anyone who's not on Earth when this happened still. Yeah. I mean, to really jump ahead, at the end, everyone forgets who Spider-Man is.
Right. And I mean, you're not jumping too far ahead because the next thing we really wanted to talk about was not only did he get help from a really good lawyer, he got help from a really good doctor. And that was Doctor Strange, which, and
he didn't do that from a selfish point. He did it because, I mean, yes, his life was screwed up, but he was worried about the safety of Aunt May, him having to cram into Happy's apartment. His friends can't go to college. And so he's sitting here watching everyone he cares about lives just falling apart, and he just wants to fix it. And so he goes to Doctor Strange.
Which was very reflective of the comic books too, which they went a completely different route with it, but that was the whole storyline for One Last Day. The 4-part, I think it was a 4-part series, if I'm not mistaken there. It might have been 6. But it was when Aunt May gets shot because he revealed his identity in the Civil War comic books. Aunt May gets shot, she's fatally wounded, she's gonna die. He goes to Tony Stark first. He goes to all these other people to try to help her. And who does he wind up making a deal with?
Mephisto.
Marvel's devil, Mephisto.
And it also pays parallel to the whole idea when Stan Lee created this character. He wanted to have a character, a superhero who had personal problems. And that seemed weird to his publisher. But here we have a character who's having very personal problems. He's not going to Doctor Strange because of his secret identity. He's going because of his personal problems with people he cares about.
Yeah, look,
that's his motivation.
I want to break that down real quick because we talked about that in the intro. How Spider, just real quick for those of y'all that don't know, there were 3 main reasons why while Spider-Man almost didn't exist. Stan Lee came up with the idea. He went to his publishers and said, "Look, I want to do this," and they told him pretty much point blank 3 bullet point reasons why this isn't going to work. 1, no one wants to hear about a teenager's problems. 2, people are scared of spiders. It'll never work. 3, it's not a team. We don't have a lot of solo heroes that you've come up with, because at this point he had come up with Fantastic Four, he had come up with the X-Men. You know, there aren't a lot of solo heroes running around. Like, making part of a team, maybe we'll talk. So that was the 3 main things going against Spider-Man. And finally they were like, you know what, we're finishing off this thing. Just put it in the last issue and we'll see what happens. And now we're doing a podcast about it.
Oh yeah. About a movie that was the 2nd highest grossing in its opening weekend. Like,
so I can definitely see why a lot of people were like, "Oh, it's going to be Mephisto." I can definitely see that. You know,
so you thought it was Mephisto,
right? We're still on that.
I'm not going to name anybody, but yeah,
not yet. Maybe a Multiverse of Madness, but we still could be wrong.
So we see that Doctor Strange still has some growing to do, because he gives Peter crap about not talking to MIT first before trying to. The spell does not work very well. He comes in, obviously, he's interrupting the spell, but Strange should have talked through it more before the spell even happened. That's kind of on Strange. He should have remembered this as a kid.
I think Ryan George said it best at his pitch meeting. He said, it's the whole producer that we've plugged him before, and it's the whole. So why didn't this, magician, actually talk it out with this kid before he started making the spell? Well, so the movie can happen.
So the movie.
Oh, okay. I got
okay. That makes sense then.
But now, and Strange did give a good line. I don't know if it was right. No, it was later on in the movie. He actually looks at Peter. He says, "You know what? Sometimes I forget you're actually a kid."
Yep.
Like, he's done such incredible things that Strange has witnessed with his eyes. It's not just hearsay. It's not just, I heard about this spider.
Come back.
And while after Strange witnessed some of these things, he got sent away. Blip. Whatever. Can we talk about that for a second? I still don't like the fact that they're calling it a blip. Like,
I don't mind
the snap.
I didn't like it at first.
It's still
like the decimation.
Yeah.
That was
it's supposed to be perfectly balanced. Why didn't they call it the balancing?
Oh, that's neat.
That's not bad.
The evening.
I want to know who actually sits there and comes up with, what are we going to call these events that happen?
Think about the Daredevil writers' room when they were told they couldn't say Battle of New York.
Right.
No, they had to call it the incident.
The incident. Yeah, the incident, the event.
But because of the blip, we learned Doctor Strange is not the Sorcerer Supreme.
Wong,
Wong for the win!
I have been asking that forever. Why was Wong... He was there before Steven was in the first place.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I never understood why Steven got it after the Ancient One passed anyway.
Yeah. I also have one other thing to note, though. Where do you think he was going when he left Strange alone with Peter?
I think he was going there.
I'm pretty sure he went to China to train with Abomination.
Yeah, something.
Abomination.
And in that scene, something I do want to talk about. I love how when the doors open and it's snowing, it's kind of like an old TV show where you go visit this eclectic neighbor and something weird is just always going on. And I love that.
I love the explanation. I thought it was just because it was
just another
Christmas
day
time, because we know this happens around Christmas time. Nope, it's because they left a freaking door open.
Yeah.
Well, this takes place in the summer, but yeah, like for all we know, it could be Christmas at the Sanctum Sanctorum. It was just a great explanation, but it also shows how much they're kind of slipping a little bit. Like, who just leaves a door open to a blizzard? Like I think they're still short.
The sorcerers are not in full supply, and I think we're going to see why in Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness.
I also want to point out something cool from that scene too. It was another little. I love all the little Easter eggs. The fact that the assistant that was shoveling the snow knocks over the same little artifact that Thor knocked over in Ragnarok.
Earth has wizards now.
And I love how they misdirected us with the trailer, because in the trailer, Wong is telling them, "Do not cast that spell. Don't do it."
He doesn't say.
He doesn't care.
He just says, "Leave me out of it."
I do want to touch on something Chef Mantis said, but I think out of any property that might answer where Wong really went, be looking at, out of all places, possibly She-Hulk, because the Abomination connection. Wong could be a massive player in She-Hulk, and we don't even know it.
Yeah, we did see him in Shang-Chi, so
you wouldn't put it together, But
I know a guy who worked on that show.
You could always
Devin the C-47, right? That's who you're talking about. Yeah. Also, not only that, he could also, since we saw him at the end of Shang-Chi learning about the rings, which my theory, which still hasn't been confirmed, but my theory was that they were Eternals technology. That could have been where he was going, was to go and find out what was happening with the Eternals. I
still think they are. I think maybe they were created before the events of the Eternals, and because their memory was erased, they forgot that they made them. But that's how they made the Unimind so quickly, was because they had done it before, and they just didn't know.
God, I still can't believe we talked for like 4 hours about that one movie, and we still have more to say on it. Like that just shows you how good it actually was.
So after the spell doesn't work out, Strange gives him the direction that, hey, maybe you should talk to the MIT people. And that leads him to tracking down the MIT lady who's about to leave town, leading us to the bridge scene.
Now, before we get all the way into the bridge scene, we also noticed there was another little fun fact to point out there. The fact that when he's looking through the visor for her, you can see up in like the top right, a lot of people missed it, but it says Edith offline. So he though he has Stark Tech, it is not linked to Stark Industries due to the falling out and everything that happened with Stark Industries being investigated. So a lot of people are like, why is he, how's he still using this? It's like, I mean, he can still use it, but not to its full effect. I don't feel like
he doesn't have the connection to Stark's money anymore.
So it kind of starts him on that process of, I got to start thinking more on my own again.
And also, I want to back up again to when he's in the apartment. He says he's one of the most famous people on Earth, and yet he's still broke.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that he doesn't have any of that help now, because we really got that broke everyday guy Spider-Man.
Right. He's rich in family and friends. That's much like me. Oh, hey, maybe I'm Spider-Man.
We're all Spider-Man.
To backtrack a little bit, talk about how the spell didn't work. Did anyone notice Strange slip up a little bit during that?
You mean when he got trapped in the Mirrorverse by a kid?
Well, that was funny too. We got to talk about that. But that was after the bridge scene. But no, we know that Peter tries to change the spell, what was it, 5 times? But when Strange says, when he's counting it out, he counts it as 6. And a lot of people, there's a fan theory that says that he had actually tried to change it once more to make it so that he would remember who Peter was.
So with that,
it's just a fan theory, though, not proven.
I don't think he would have forgotten who Peter Parker was in the first place, because he has casted the spell before, and he even mentioned it to Wong. He said, "Do you remember that party at that so-and-so place?" Wong says, "No." Exactly.
Either that,
so
or
I don't think he's forgotten yet. I think even now, after the end of the film, I think Doctor Strange still knows who Peter Parker is.
Doctor Strange said that even I will. He's even said that even I won't know who you are.
Yeah, I think he had to make it at the end anyway. I think he had to make it so that even he wouldn't know, to finally complete the spell to its fruition, to save the multiverse from ripping apart. And we'll talk about that when we get to it, of course. But yeah, that was, oh my goodness, just it's so cool, because this is now the second time where we've had Doctor Strange be a part of someone else's movie and just have this magic solution that doesn't work out very well.
Doesn't work out at all. Proves that magic is not the best source.
Right?
And so he sends Peter away because everything's supposedly fine. He shuts down the spell, but the spell is not shut down because he's on the bridge and everyone's running.
Yeah. He's like, what's going on?
Yep.
Next thing you know.
Yep. And at this point, we get another moment of universes overlapping where the MIT lady tries to get out of her vehicle and the door hits the side of the bridge, which is Amazing Spider-Man 2. Or no, the first one, Amazing Spider-Man 1, when the lizard...
Oh, wait, yeah, that was a callback.
And he tries to get out of the car, and it happens the same way.
Yep.
Yeah,
I love that whole fight scene between Doc Ock and Spider-Man. How he thinks he's facing his Spider-Man, and then the tentacles come out like, "Oh, we got competition."
Because he threatened his girlfriend. He was like, "Should have killed girlfriend."
That is honestly one of the few ways to piss off Spider-Man, to make him blind rage, is anyone he genuinely cares about, his family and friends. You do not threaten them.
Just that line though, the "Hello, Peter." I just
chills, literal chills.
I'm so confused.
Great. Who are you?
Right? Who are you? A cool thing to note on that, in the whole movie as well, but when I was doing research for this episode, I came across this fun little fact. So what's really interesting is that, so Raimi's movies were obviously filmed a lot in New York. They filmed a lot of, even if it was just for reference and then they recreated it digitally or whatever. Most of the filming for Spider-Man No Way Home was actually done in Georgia. So a lot of what you're seeing when you think you're seeing New York is actually a blue screen. So they filmed on a soundstage because they're still taking COVID very seriously, even during filming of all this stuff. So it's really cool that we were put into that moment. So like Chef Manta said, literal chills. Like there was nothing unrealistic about that scene. When he busts through the bridge, you're looking out at the background. It looks like a busy New York bridge, and it's just like to keep in your mind on a rewatch. It's like, dude, that's all soundstage. Like that's amazing what they can do now. Yeah, imagine how really, really good Spider-Man 3 could have been with today's technology. They wouldn't have had to try to compensate with too many villains.
Right. And they just gave Sam Raimi full creative control.
Don't even get me started about Spider-Man 3, and I'm going to go ahead and get this out of the way because I talked way too much about it before. Avi Arad adding that dedication to himself in the credits of that movie. That man.
Wait, explain that to me.
Avi Arad, who was, the main guy that pushed to make all of the Raimi movies, and forced Sam Raimi to include Venom against his will in that movie, put a dedication to himself in the No Way Home credits, calling himself the original mind behind the superhero movies.
Okay.
With Sam Raimi and all these other people exist.
That gives me
Literal
some
thing.
ammunition because I love the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, and I've always said that if you take Venom out, even if you leave in the Harry losing his memory
It's a
thing, if you
great
take
movie.
Venom out, it's a good movie.
It's a
It
good
genuinely is.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, it's decent on its own for the time that it came out in, but it does suffer from, which is something this movie does not suffer from, too many villains.
Yes.
Because they were trying to do a juggling act, but couldn't quite get it right. It was like they were still trying to learn how to juggle, and they were like, I got it. Keep that one up in the air. Wait, no. Oh, yeah. And then,
the difference is
Act 3.
Oops. I dropped it.
I dropped it.
they have different motivations for each of the villains in Spider-Man 3, and in this Spider-Man 3, the villains all kind of have the same motivation. They either want to get home or they don't want to lose their power. Like it's all linked to them being pulled into this universe.
Yep.
They don't have different motivations really. They have different ways they handle it. Some of them just want to go home. Some of them want to stay here and rule this world.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to say, like, I think the other biggest reason it also worked, like bringing like 5 villains together in one movie, is because not only have they been building it up like just for Spider-Man to interact with them, but they've been working towards a multiverse movie like ever since the beginning. Marvel.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no,
this has been a fan theory for the longest time, and I never thought would actually be true. Even going in, I kept going back and forth. Are they all going to be in it? Are they not? I don't know.
So I have some fun. I have some fun information on that. So when we were doing research on for the fun facts, me and Mama Bear came across this nice little tidbit. Toby and Andrew did not actually receive scripts, so that was their confirmation that they were going to be in the movie. They didn't receive their scripts until Christmas of 2020.
Really?
The script went through so many rewrites to the point where they were actually going to make this movie about Kraven the Hunter.
Yep,
that was pitched to Tom Holland by the director.
Really?
And this is where when we talked about in the fun facts earlier, the whole that Tom is starting to learn how to keep his mouth shut. Him and Zendaya and I can never remember the guy that plays Ned because I just like calling him Ned. Yeah, they all knew that there was possibly a multiversal component to this movie years ago, and never said anything because it was so always in flux. So they didn't know for sure, so they couldn't say anything even if Tom wanted to, because then they would have just been like, "Oh, well, now that you said it, we got to change it."
So, you mentioned the Kraven thing, and I can't help but think that, if they wanted to keep the multiverse aspect, their original pitch could have been, so our Kraven is from a completely alternate universe and has been hopping through universe after
he's played by Jason Momoa.
Find the Spider-Man. And they could have done a multiverse movie and Kraven.
I mean, dude, why not? Because Michael Keaton's like Vulture and he's about to play Batman again.
Right.
Oh yeah. I cannot believe I'm getting ready to see Michael Keaton as Batman again this year.
Wait, what?
Excited. In The Flash.
Yeah, the Flash.
He's the new DCEU Batman, apparently. Yeah.
Also, just because I want to throw this out there while we're talking about DC, because I mean we're not going to talk about DC very long. The fact that Pierce Brosnan is going to play Dr. Fate and Black Adam.
Perfect cast.
Bro.
Like just perfect casting.
Yes.
I feel like. But and I showed y'all the concept art of that earlier. So yeah. But back to this multiversal mashup.
I love how he beat Doc Ock. It was with his suit.
Yeah.
So technically that means the Iron Man still is winning even after his death. Iron Man saved him.
Even in death, I'm the hero. Edith.
Hello, Peter. I am Edith. Edith stands for Even Dead, I'm the Hero. Tony loved his acronyms.
These people are from 2002 and they don't have a Tony Stark. They have no idea what they're getting themselves into.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he assimilates the Stark tech, and then that is what makes it so that he can control it. That is just freaking.
I love how they didn't just initially change all these characters; they got changed as they were in this universe. So we get to Doctor Strange. He's got this He's got Doc Ock all chained up now, or not chained up, but like locked away, magical barrier, and now they had to Scooby-Doo this crap. By the way, can we talk about MJ? I didn't put this on the topics, but someone had said that there was a TikToker who was always talking about how they hated the MCU MJ. They just hated her. I've always loved her personally. And before they went and saw this movie, they still said that they hated her. And when they came out of the movie, they made a duet of their own video saying they take everything back they've ever said about MCU MJ. It's the best MJ they've ever seen. And I went in to the movie with that knowledge, excited about it, and I saw exactly what they were talking about. She stole the show.
Oh,
in the best way possible.
She and Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, Willem Dafoe for sure.
Well, yeah, Willem Dafoe.
Look, you can't. All they had to do was get rid of that helmet and let that man use his face. And
okay, but when I saw the helmet,
Dude,
when I
yeah,
saw
the
him on the
hood, too.
bridge,
Got
I
hood
screeched a little bit. I was like,
oh, yes.
I did too.
That long, so good.
So another connection of universes, since we've been talking about those, the scene where we see the broken helmet and Norman is walking away was a homage. This is confirmed. It was a homage to Spider-Man 2. Sorry. Which one was it where he gave up the suit? He thought he was done? That was 2, right?
Oh, yeah, that was 2.
Yeah, where he puts it in the garbage can and he walks away and there's that shot that shows the suit and then him walking away. Same thing here, but flipped, because in that scene, it's, the Spider-Man is on the right side of the screen where he's walking away on the left. And on this, the Green Goblin is laying by a dumpster and Willem Dafoe is walking off to the right.
Another thing I noticed while watching the movie, when we first see Green Goblin, he throws a pumpkin bomb. One thing that was messed up was that the pumpkin bomb lit up on both sides, which in the first movie it only lit up on one side until the third movie when James Franco played Harry, right?
Harry, yeah.
When he used the bombs, then it glue on both sides.
Right.
So they got one little fact wrong about that.
Hey,
I don't think it was.
And it just caught my eye. So
that's pretty cool, though. I'd love to look that up.
I
love how I thought when we first saw Green Goblin, it was immediately going to be a fight between Green Goblin and Spider-Man. But when we actually really get to interact, we see him on the bridge floating towards them, but then we don't see him. And I love how when we really first see him, he's at Feast. And Peter's rushing there because he thinks Aunt May's in trouble. And by the way, can we talk about Feast? Can we talk about the fact that Aunt May's got Feast?
Exactly.
That's a huge
where's
thing.
Martin Lee at? Because he's the one who started the whole operation.
The next 3 movies are going to be street level, and it's going to be Martin Lee, Wilson Fisk, maybe Tombstone. I think they're really going to go into
because in the comics, Feast is actually a front that Aunt May doesn't know she's working for, right?
Yeah.
It's a
Miles
front for the
Morales
criminal
works
empire.
for that too, though.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about in the Hawkeye episode how Kate Bishop and Miles Morales once dated, and during that time they were dating, her parents were actually working for Hydra, but they thought Hydra was good. So that happens a lot.
Oh, it happens a lot. They get fooled by the bad. The bad guys hide in plain sight all the time.
Yeah,
trust a bro moving company.
Exactly. Kurt, I'm so glad you brought up Miles Morales too, because there was
so bad.
Yeah, at the end, after Electro lost his powers, he was normal again. He was like, I thought we were gonna be black, there's gotta be a black Spider-Man out there somewhere. Just might be.
And we already had the deleted scene from Homecoming that came out of Donald Glover, who plays Miles Morales' uncle, Aaron Davis, on the phone with him saying, Miles, I'm not going to make it. So Miles already exists in the MCU. He's just not Spider-Man yet.
Yeah, dude, and there's also a chance that because of the blip, he could have aged and survived it.
Yeah,
survived and then aged through the
blip. There you go.
Yes.
There you go.
But another thing is his uncle works for Kingpin, who is now next to Hawkeye in the universe.
Yep.
And he's Prowler for Kingpin. So so many things could happen now.
Oh yeah.
And another, I'm sorry, I meant to mention this last episode, but we're talking about Kingpin and Daredevil. But I really,
you said last episode that you'd mention it this episode. I think that's how it works.
Yeah, dude, let it out, man. I want to hear it.
Continuity. Okay, so I really do think after the Hawkeye finale that I kind of vibe with this oafy, bigger, version of Kingpin. I'm really enjoying the comic-y, funny Kingpin in the Hawaiian shirt, and I really want more of it.
Absolutely.
After seasons of brutality, I really like this goofy Kingpin.
Because I remember when I was a kid watching Spider-Man cartoons, and I just remember this scene of Kingpin with both hands grabbing Spider-Man by the head, saying, "I'm gonna squash you like a bug."
Like a bug.
And the only movie version of someone saying that to him is Green Goblin, in the original Spider-Man movie. But I love that line. People saying, like, calling him Thanos did it as well in Infinity War. Said insect or something like that.
Yeah, pathetic insect.
It was like more magic.
Magic with a kick. Magic with a
insect.
So we got Willem Dafoe showing up now. He's broken, and Peter's pretty much saying, "Oh, this isn't my problem. This isn't my problem." Yeah. And Aunt May's like, "Oh, isn't it?"
Yeah,
right.
It's a great teaching moment.
and so we get the Doctor Strange's plan to send them back, and the villains are talking. By the way, can we just talk about the villains talking and coming to the realization that they're all gonna die?
It's so funny.
It's
Well,
comical almost, but it's also serious.
Yep.
Yeah.
They weren't all gonna die though, because remember Sandman?
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, I mean, he did.
Lizard.
survive.
Lizard didn't die.
Lizard.
You mean the dinosaur in the basement?
Wait, he talks.
Really made me like British Lizard. I wasn't a big fan of it in The Amazing Spider-Man, but when he's talking to Max, and I'm just like, this is something that would have
gap teeth in a comb over.
Him just trying to convince everyone about how great it would be to be a lizard.
Type
Right.
and
I know that we never got to see it in the Raimi universe of that Doc Connors becoming the lizard, but I can almost I can at least 90% say without seeing it that the version we got in No Way Home better. Like, just better. I don't know why. I think it's because of the British. I think it's because he's kind of smart, but kind of not. Like, I feel like it works because the only other version of Lizard we've ever seen, other than Amazing Spider-Man, from my knowledge, is the animated series.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's always, "I'm gonna kill you, Spider-Man." It's like, it's very gruff and very reptilian.
Whenever he gets a chance to talk in this movie, he's trying to convince everyone about how great it'd be. Coronavirus wouldn't bother everyone if everyone was a freaking lizard.
That's true. I'd rather live as a lizard than
I think Sam Raimi could have done some pretty spooky things with Lizard, though. It would have been interesting to see how he would have portrayed the character.
Yeah, dude, did you see Sam Raimi's original design for the Goblin mask in the first Spider-Man? Dude,
Oh my God, that animatronic is just...
Well, he has a background in horror.
Oh, yeah.
And
he
saw
did
that
Evil
in
Dead.
Spider-Man 2, the hospital scene with Doc Ock, that is 100% a horror scene.
Oh, yeah.
It's not scary, but
Spider-Man
it's a horror
1 is
scene.
riddled with jump scares. I mean...
The only person that I would like to see take a whack at like a horror version of Spider-Man, or at least Spider-Man's villains, is Tim Burton. Like, he's the only other one I would want to see other than the people that have already tried, like Raimi. Dude, imagine what like Tim Burton could do with some of those characters, because some of those characters are pretty dark. Like, and talking about dark Spider-Man characters, shout out to Morbius, which we hope is still good. After
April Fool's Day comes out.
I'm hoping that delay is so they can film some Andrew Garfield content. So,
Dude, yeah, because they haven't denied that it took place in that universe yet.
I'm sorry,
yeah.
Jared Leto needs
that poster
redemption.
looks
for
a
me.
lot like Andrew's suit, so
Yeah.
No, it's Sam Raimi's suit. If you take a closer look at,
But I think
Is it?
It looks like Tobey Maguire's suit, but it's not going to be Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man.
I think they're gonna remove it. I think it was they were waiting.
It's a trailer.
They were waiting for No Way Home to come out so they could remove it and put Andrew behind it.
Having to put something in there. I mean,
Because
hell,
about how
in Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man movie, which I think it was the first one, there was actually someone playing the Spider-Man theme in the subway.
Spider-Man does whatever a spider can.
So
that happened in all of them, I think. I know
Yes,
there was
there's one person playing the
someone
fiddle.
with a violin,
that was
and
it
someone
too,
with
yeah.
a fiddle.
Yeah. Oh, and the fact that Bruce Campbell makes an appearance in all the Sam Raimi films, just got to shout that out too.
Hey,
Okay,
know what
yeah,
that
and there was a theory going around, people saying that he was going to be Quentin Beck Mysterio because he
that would have been great.
He was in disguise, if you think about
There
it.
was a storyboard of him that was supposed to be in Spider-Man 4, but they canned that movie.
Right.
So,
That's
but
okay.
that-
He can be Craven. I'm totally down for him being Craven.
well, if he's in all the
Jason Momoa.
Sam movies, he's gonna be in Multiverse of Madness.
He's got to be.
My pick is Zombie Universe Nick Fury, kind of like a la Ash.
Yes.
Oh,
I would love that.
For $3,000! Is there no one here man enough to stay in the ring for 3 minutes with this titan?
Either that or I'm gonna throw a wild ball. It's either that or Balder the Brave. I really would love to see him as Balder the Brave for some reason.
So on the list here we had Math Beats Magic. Like
But
I love that concept.
That kind of leads after
Oh.
the scene where they realize they're going to die. They're just about, and it's honestly one of my favorite moments in the movie where Peter realizes that he has to do something about what Strange is about to do. Because Strange is being super calculated, which is totally in character for him. He's about what's good for the greater good, not for the individual.
We're talking
but
about the guy
Spider-Man-
that told Tony point blank, if it comes down to protecting you or the kid or the stone, I will, like, he pretty much
I
said,
won't hesitate
I'm
to
going to choose the
expect
stone every time.
Yeah.
You know,
And the only reason he didn't actually follow through with that is because he saw the path to win. It's not because he grew a heart and decided to sacrifice the time stone.
he didn't get grit
So,
disease.
he doesn't
he
have-
actually still calculated.
I'm not saying he's super, super bad, but he doesn't have much of a heart when it comes to the little guy. And that's what Spider-Man's supposed to be all about, protecting the little guy, even if it's the villains. And so, and I love that moment where Strange realizes he's about to take the box. He's like, don't. And he just takes it. And this is why I don't have kids. Doctor Strange said that. I just love that. And they're in the
Mirrorverse.
the mirror
Before that, when he takes the box, he astral projects Peter out of his body.
Yes!
And Peter's body, which now we know that is a biological component, the Spidey sense is still moving the box to keep
How
it
are
so
you doing
Strange
that?
can't hold it. Like,
Dude, as soon
love
as
that.
Peter gets his money back, he's like, okay, what just happened there was the coolest thing that ever happened to me, but don't do that again.
And he's so quick about it. And I love how quippy Tom Holland Spider-Man is.
Oh yeah.
Bro, yeah.
He's amazing. So, of course, Doctor Strange has to pull everyone into the Mirrorverse when he can't beat them or catch them. But, yeah, math beats magic, though.
Well, like
you
Tony
don't
Stark
jump-
said, like Tony Stark said, magic is just science that we have not figured out yet.
Yes.
yeah, that's true.
And so he figures it out, and he traps Strange in his own little thing.
And
That's
it was
better.
really cool, and it took him forever to get out of it, as we can see, because he doesn't show back up until the.
He's gone for the rest of the movie.
New Statue of Liberty.
So 5 villains, 1 apartment. That was
Yep.
an awesome little bit that they put in there.
You know, okay, that was something that leaked before I watched the movie. I was reading an article because I was trying to find somewhere that confirmed that they were in the movie, and I couldn't find it. But someone was doing a synopsis of it, and they talked about there's a scene in it where he's stuffing all of the villains into a small apartment, and it just sounded so ridiculous. I'm like, okay, this article's trash. It's not actually happening, and I clicked away from the article. And when that scene came up, I'm like, holy I should have read the rest of that article.
And the fact that that's when we get confirmation that Happy should actually be in trouble with the government because he did steal some Stark tech. He stole the cradle.
One of Tony's first machines.
Yes.
Well, now there's some debate about that because, Dummy. Dummy was one of the first machines, but the cradle is the one I was talking about.
Oh, the cradle.
We saw it on the plane, but there's also some suspicion that it also is, I guess, co-designed with the Doctor from Age of Ultron. That cradle, so it was like an improvement on the design, I suppose, because they were using similar technology, but also it was powered by an arc reactor.
You mean Helen Cho?
Yes,
right?
Helen Cho's cradle design.
Okay, cool.
So,
I'm with you.
I didn't even think about that.
I could never remember her name, even though she's like a crucial part of that movie.
Basically, it's a really cool 3D printer.
Look,
but with like all kinds of different materials.
Something I want to bring up about Age of Ultron real quick, because we've just never talked about that movie, in the fact that Captain America tried to choke Ultron.
Well, he's definitely unhappy. I'm gonna try and keep him that way.
You're not a match for him, Cap.
A few moments later.
That's your favorite hero there, bud.
That's my favorite hero, and he did something pretty stupid.
Choke a robot.
And I'm sure it's less
okay, dude. But you got to think about his intentions, though. He wasn't trying to outright like choke him out and like defeat him, or
he was just trying to be an inconvenience.
Yeah.
Like Spider-Man falling across Ant-Man's eye.
I really feel like we should go back and review like old movies that have been out for years and just be like, all right, let's talk about how silly some of this stuff is.
Well, you got to think about it. With WandaVision, you can now look back and see so much of what it did for Age of Ultron in and of itself. Like, I was watching that show and I was like, holy shit, they made that movie age like fine wine.
I have a theory I want to talk about related to Wanda Maximoff, but not right now. We'll probably do it in the Multiverse of Madness episode we do, but we definitely need to talk about it after recording. But I have a theory about her that connects with that you were just talking about. But we're already at 54 minutes, so let's not that I'm trying to rush this, but
I'm really excited about this next topic because it's all about this Peter spider sense. And I think, at least in the movies, it's the most specific spider sense we've ever seen.
Talking about the Peter Tingle?
Please do not start calling it my Peter Tingle.
Yeah, the Peter Tingle. Because he's just talking with Doc Ock, and then all of a sudden he gets the spider sense, and he's walking around. And it's like the longest scene we've seen with the spider sense. He's trying to figure out something bad's going to happen. He has to figure out what it is before it happens. And I was looking at Green Goblin already because I'm.
Oh yeah.
But I was really afraid that maybe I was wrong and Doc Ock was thinking going to stay good.
I was thinking Electro.
Yeah,
Electro. That's the one I was thinking it was going to be.
Yeah. He was sus.
Very sus.
I was super impressed because it was like Peter's psychological thing resonating with Norman's psychological thing, and that was why it took so long. Was because
they were like
it
kind of
wasn't
linked.
a physical threat; it was a mental threat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
I
that
love
switch
It gave him a healthy dose of paranoia.
Norman's
as
on
they like to say.
that's some sense of yours. And that honestly is what the audience was thinking too. Yeah, that's some freaking sense of yours. That leads us into the first fight we see between Green Goblin and Spider-Man, which does not go in Spider-Man's favor at all.
I loved watching him just beat the crap out of him, though. Just through floors, through walls, and everything.
I mean,
amazing
Norman
fight scene.
is juiced up too. I mean, Norman.
That Goblin serum.
He's strong.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And honestly,
he'll whoop your butt.
When I went into the movie, I thought that Happy Hogan was going to be the one to bite the dust. I thought he was going to be the one to say with great power comes great responsibility. And when it came to the point, like Dustin and I were sitting there, we kept analyzing and rechanging what we thought was going to happen during the whole fight. And Aunt May looks in danger. I'm like, oh, Ant-Man's gonna die, and then she's fine. I'm like, okay, she's fine.
We're good.
And then she says the line, and I'm like,
Yep.
Dude, bro,
Also-
it's funny because people in my theater were plotting for that, and we're like, okay, yeah, go
But-
off. We thought she was gonna live.
Yeah.
I saw somebody point this out like a week ago, and they were like, her saying that line proves that Marvel wasn't ignoring Spider-Man's origin story.
No.
This trilogy was
Exactly.
Spider-Man's origin story.
and that changes every criticism people have had of these movies of him not being the Spider-Man. That's
Yes.
because he wasn't Spider-Man yet. I mean, when we first see him,
Becoming Spider-Man.
he's only had his powers for 6 months.
Now
And he still,
is
even in this movie,
Spider-Man.
doesn't understand the responsibility of his powers.
Mhm.
And this is really his coming of. I mean, everyone's saying it sounds like an overused term, but it's really his coming of age story.
It is. It is.
I
He is
would like to. I would like to see, because I don't remember, and correct me if I'm wrong here if y'all do, I don't remember him bringing up how he got his powers before this movie. He brings it up to MJ on the roof.
He tells
Like ever since that spider bit me, he tells Ned, but he never, I don't think he actually says it. I think that conversation starts with Ned. Ned going, so you got bit by a spider? Do you think it could bite me? But I don't think he ever actually says it, which is kind of like the same thing.
Well, he
along
said
the
it
lines.
off screen because that's how Ned found
But-
out. But yeah,
but
it's
the
our
thing is,
first time
he
getting
never-
it confirmed.
Yeah, but I would love to see if we get another. I say if just because of how Disney and Sony are. If we get another movie with Tom Holland as Spider-Man, I would love to see like a flashback to that scene, to that day. I'd love to see that, just because I'd love to see a wimpy Tom Holland.
prequel.
What's that?
No,
You
like
break-
just a flashback and then like resume
Okay.
where they pick up.
Yeah.
Like give me a flashback. It's like he's going over his journey or whatever of how he got to where he is now.
Oh,
kind of thing.
So
I just
are
thought
they going to do?
Plus announced a show. Spider-Man
Yeah.
freshman year.
Freshman year.
That's supposed
Exactly.
to be animated though.
That might be it.
That's
But
what they'll show you. Yeah.
Yeah,
They
that
might
makes
show us
sense.
dance,
Tom
That would be
Holland is-
great.
So the scene that made me cry more than Aunt May's death was actually the roof scene. And actually, I'm jumping ahead a little bit. Ned and MJ are both searching for Spider-Man.
Ned has magic.
Ned has magic, and he mentioned
Dude,
that.
Ned has magic.
He
He
mentioned
never
it, Doctor
explained
Strange,
it.
and I thought it was just going to be a throwaway line until he starts messing with the ring, and I'm like, oh my god, because they're looking for Peter because Peter's obviously mourning. They heard about what happened to Aunt May. He's off somewhere. They need to find him, and they find Spider-Man. Spider-Man's running towards them.
Those eyes.
And
those lenses.
how loud was your guys' theaters when he took off that mask and revealed that he was Andrew Garfield?
It's Jonathan.
Dude, I almost lost my hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like.
I mean, it's a theory that everyone thought was going to happen, but we weren't prepared for. And when
And
we
we didn't
saw
know
it,
how.
My white pants.
We knew we all thought it was going to happen, but we also thought that it might not happen. That they might have just been blowing smoke up our.
Mm-hmm.
And even for those of us that did believe, which I'll be honest, I wasn't one. Not that I didn't believe that it could happen, but I honestly thought, like, because this movie was overly publicized with leaks. So, and not all leaks can be taken with 100% guarantee. So I thought it was someone coming up with some fake story that was believable, and the internet just ran with it. So I didn't say it couldn't happen, but what I said was, and Beard can back me up on this, I'm just going to have to wait to see it.
Yep.
Like, I can't go into it hoping that they're going to be there. I also can't go into it thinking that they're not. I just have to see it.
and the movie would have been fine without them. Honestly.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. But it definitely added that impact. We have him come through, and then we have the cool. He gets called a youth pastor, which for those who love TikTok. There's this guy, Youth Pastor Ryan, on TikTok, and he used to work for Disney, and he was Spider-Man a lot. So he says he does not actually believe this, but he holds it as a headcanon that Disney knows he exists, and calling Tobey Maguire a youth pastor was a hint towards him.
We mentioned that
Never float your boat, buddy.
Ned brings in with his magic, which, before COVID happened and before the pandemic, Multiverse of Madness was slated to come out before this movie.
Yes.
And so they've released a ton of concept art, and something I found interesting is that the original concept is that America Chavez brings Andrew and Toby into the Prime MCU. Because the MacGuffin...
She can punch portals between universes.
Yep. And MacGuffin in the original movie was the Darkhold. And they were trying to get a hold of the Darkhold in order to send everyone back.
Mm-hmm.
And so when Multiverse got pushed, they reshot so much of this movie and cut that.
And then they probably changed a lot of Multiverse, too.
Yeah. Oh, Multiverse just finished reshoots like last week.
Yeah, because they'll have to change it to be after, like in timeline order. Probably it would probably have to be after this movie because, well, actually, let me backtrack on my own theory there for a second. What do y'all think? Because tell me if this would make sense for after Strange has been through all of what he's going to go through in Multiverse of Madness from what we've seen from the trailer, which thank you, Disney, for giving us that trailer as an end credit scene, like the extended trailer for this movie. That was awesome. Thank you very much. After he goes through everything, maybe that's why he's a little lax and maybe that's why he's slipping up a little bit at the beginning of this movie.
That's an interesting...
I think it's going to take place after, though. I really do.
Yeah. I mean, it could go either way.
What were you saying?
But...
Sorry?
Doctor Strange says, even after all this, we still don't know much about the multiverse.
Yeah.
He said that also in the movie.
So
I can see it going either way.
Yeah.
Either way, Disney's going to knock it out of the park. We know this.
Exactly.
So the scene that made me cry the most is MJ and Ned had already met the other Spider-Mans and had their cool little moment with them, and they got to do their little webs and have their little fun moment. And then there's Peter on the roof, and he's mourning Aunt May, and they don't bombard him with the reveal of Andrew and Toby's Spider-Man. It's just his friends coming up and giving him a big hug. And the fact that they just learned something so cool and their first thought isn't, yo, here's something really cool. It's, we care about our friend who just went through some major that shows how much of a sacrifice it really was for him to give up those friends at the end of the movie, because they comforted him and then they revealed the other Spider-Man. Well, actually, they didn't even point it out. He just sensed them and then they turned around and had their moment. But how much did you guys tear up at that moment?
Oh my goodness.
Dude, bro,
it's just that hug.
It honestly got to me because not only it was weird because I didn't see it as three different actors playing the same character, but it was just like three different versions of Peter Parker all talking to each other. Like,
yes,
like it was still the same person. They just happened to look different.
I got literal chills when Toby finished the line.
With great power comes great responsibility.
How do you know that? Uncle Ben said it before he died.
Can we talk about Uncle Ben?
That's what made me tear up.
So while we're on that subject, now my calculations might be incorrect, but I'm pretty sure we've only gotten 2 mentions of Tom Holland's Spider-Man's Uncle Ben.
I don't think we've had any mentions of his Uncle Ben, have we?
No, I don't think he exists in that
suitcase.
Yes,
have been on the suitcase.
Yes.
Yeah, his initials on the suitcase was one, and I want to say there was another one. I don't think he mentioned it though. I think it was May.
In Civil War, I think.
Yeah.
Now, I had a theory that Tom Holland's Spider-Man has never interacted with a Ben. Could it have been that Ben died before Aunt May took over responsibility of Peter? So Ben existed, but he died before Peter ever had a relationship with him.
And that's completely plausible.
The dynamic that they seem to have set up for the MCU is that Aunt May is a single mother. I mean, she's an aunt, but she's his mother figure, and they have that single mother, single son relationship.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense.
Well, if this trilogy is his origin story, then her death signifies the same thing that Ben's death does. So yes, she's very much their version of Ben.
And if we had thought about it, if we had actually kind of thought about it ahead of time, we might not would have been surprised. But of course, the movie's moving so fast, we're engulfed in it, but we could have seen the correlations, because her death was technically Peter's fault, which is always the case with Spider-Man. If because he says it's not his problem, then it is his problem. He goes and gets Doctor Strange, which is why these villains are here. He chooses to trust the villains, and one of them betrays him, and that's what Norman Osborn points out. She is hurt, she is injured because of you. Not directly, but technically. But
she wouldn't have had it any other way. He did everything he did is exactly what she would have had him do, though. The way he twisted, I mean, what you said is absolutely true, but Goblin twisted it as of, you should have done something different because you're the reason she's dead. No, she died,
that's not true.
Inspiring him to be who he needs to be.
Right.
Yeah, like in Goblin's eyes, doing the right thing makes him a sucker, but we all know
that's
I love how she's like, she doesn't know that she's dying yet, but she's like, oh, you mean that bull that he said? No, screw that. With great power comes great responsibility. Because he straight up tells Aunt May, this isn't my problem. This is all, and she's like, you mean that crap that Goblin was saying? No, we don't mess with that crap around here. Forget him. She shut that down right after she's already been impaled.
Right.
So
I was looking up. I was looking up to see if there were any Uncle Ben references. It was just the suitcase.
Okay.
So there has only been one reference to Uncle Ben before this movie, and it was some initials on a suitcase. So I guess we're operating under the assumption that he just didn't have a connection with his Uncle Ben, if at all. So, and that's fine. I was looking that up.
Then we get the lab scene, because they're all coming together.
So great.
The beam. That man's an imposter. That man is the imposter.
Peter. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Did you mean that? Or Peter.
Let me tell you, there are two. Somebody asked me the other day, if Stan Lee was still alive, what would you have liked to have been a cameo in a movie like this? And my answer was one of two things. As a protester in defense of Spider-Man, or walking through the halls, cleaning the floors, mopping, looks in the lab, sees the three of them, smiles, and continues what he's doing.
That would have been perfect, because he was the janitor in the Ultimate Spider-Man series.
And in Amazing Spider-Man.
Well, no, he was a librarian.
Oh,
yeah.
It was like
But
Amazing Spider-Man.
They blew right through it, but still.
I have a third option that would have required a whole nother scene. But if we got to see the spell taking effect at the end of the movie, if Stan Lee was still alive, I would have loved to have seen him still sitting at the table that he was at in the park playing chess in Avengers when he was interviewed, and he just kind of looks up. Like Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, the whole memory eraser spell kind of thing. Give us a scene like that where everyone's forgetting Peter Parker and we see stuff being wiped off of TV screens, and then we look at Stan Lee and he just looks up and smiles like he still remembers. Like, I think that would have been, but you'd have to have a whole extra 20 minutes of film for that. So,
I love how we got that scene in the lab, though, because we don't get a whole lot of live action scenes of Spider-Man being a scientist. We got a lot more with Tom Holland than anyone else, but usually it was in school. He's in a school lab doing stuff. And so seeing all three of them with they got lab coats on and they're working on sciencey stuff, it shows the smart side of Spider-Man, and then we gotta have that. Peter, him.
They did the meme.
They did.
It's so great.
Is cartridges.
Oh my god!
Cartridges,
Bro.
and then they do the.
Look,
They come out of you.
they make
Then they're
that
on the,
video.
they're on
like,
the
"Oh, y'all can do that?"
scaffolding and they're
Yeah.
bugging him about it. It's like, are you guys making fun of me? No, we just
No, we're just genuinely
do that.
We have
So,
questions.
like,
Do you ever get a web block? Like,
it's funny you said that.
That did
Actually,
happen one time.
okay, so because we're getting to that scene, which that scene in the trailer is what gave a lot of it away. Like, because we know that they
there was the
edited them
leaked
out.
thing of. That's why I thought that Tobey Maguire. I didn't think Tobey Maguire was in it. I thought for sure Andrew was.
Yeah.
Because of the leaked thing of Andrew on the scaffolding, and then I saw in the trailer the scaffolding, that put it in my mind that at least one of them was in.
And then
Yeah.
everybody was also like, it could just be Doc Ock. He could have gone good. It's like, nah, dog. Nah, dog.
We also
Well,
got
okay.
to acknowledge. We got to acknowledge the invisible kick Lizard took to the face.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what that. Yeah, yeah.
Well, that wasn't what I was talking about. I was talking about there was a
That
leaked
too.
image of
Yeah,
when he was standing
Andrew on
Well,
the
it's a
scaffolding.
video.
Yeah,
It's like a 2-second video.
Yeah.
And Andrew
It's like,
goes,
it's fake.
It's a fake.
Andrew Garfield deserves an Oscar for his lying.
Oh
performance
yeah.
for this movie.
Mr. Werewolf. Mr.
Dude,
Werewolf.
yeah.
I got
think
two words for you guys. My back.
Right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Ah.
Yeah, I just can't get my back to pop.
So while we're talking about that scene, I just as a Captain America fan, I would like to point out that I don't think Captain Rogers would have liked very much of the Statue of Liberty being changed for him.
No.
And I thought that
not
was
at all.
weird. But we already had a hint of that in Hawkeye when
yes.
Miss Pugh as Yelena says something about I want to go see the new Statue of Liberty, and all this, and it's like, wait, what new statue? Like, did it get destroyed? Like, what are we talking about here? And so that actually means that it, was being built in Spider-Man No Way Home, and then they destroyed it, and it had to be rebuilt again before Christmas. So,
But I do agree. It's, the heroes don't like a lot of the stuff that people do. Like, we noticed that in Hawkeye, and this is something we didn't talk about in the Hawkeye episode. Hawkeye felt very uncomfortable anytime someone was like, "Thank you for saving the universe. Thank you for saving Earth. Thank you." Like, they don't like getting the free food and stuff like that. It makes them uncomfortable, but it also shows the weird back and forth, because then you got Sam, who doesn't get any help really.
right.
He just gets the things for being a hero.
Hawkeye also did not like the musical. I feel like
No, he did not.
I mean, the things that the fans do for the heroes, they don't enjoy. So I definitely think that the Statue of Liberty, them trying to honor Cap, although with good intentions, Cap would be like, "The is that shit?"
It was a great place for a final fight,
though. Oh, it's being the heart of New York City, the icon of Spider-Man's turf is just,
I like that a lot of people pointed out, like, the fact, and I loved this fact because I used to play some of these video games. They were like, why did the final fight take place at the Statue of Liberty? Because it's so hard for him to get to in all the video games because there's nothing to swing on.
Right.
And that whole scene where they're talking on the scaffolding before the fight is just fan service after fan service, them talking about their villains. And then he talks about, "Oh, I fought a purple alien. Oh, I fought a black alien. Oh, you guys making me feel lame." No.
I thought of
You're
my
on
nostrils.
face.
Yeah. And the fact that all of that, like you said, fan service after fan service, it was more like a love. It was also like a love letter,
absolutely,
to all the Spider-Man fans. It's like, look, we didn't forget about you. Here's all the stuff you wanted, and then to move on to that before when they're trying to figure out which Peter is which, when in the middle of the fight. I do want to point out that when Andrew Garfield says that he loves them, that was impromptu.
Yes.
That was not in the script. That's why their reactions are genuine. Toby and Tom are just like,
thank you.
Thank you.
They said it at the same time.
I also love them figuring out the Peter 1, Peter 2, Peter 3.
Yeah.
Bro, yeah, that was like
whole Jonathan Larson hand euphemism thing.
Yeah.
Peter 3.
The meme, I saw a good meme about that too, where it was, hey, if I say I love you, you gonna say it back? And then Tom's like, yeah. And then Andrew says, I love you. And then Toby's like, it back. And then the next thing you see is like a few seconds later, Andrew Garfield Spider-Man is running to go grab his computer to search how to join the Sinister Six.
I want to quote Ryan George. One complaint I do have about the movie, he points out, well, if we're going to have 3 Spider-Man fighting in the dark against 5 villains, is it going to be hard to see? Oh, yeah, totally. You're not going to see a damn thing. That was my one complaint. Is during the actual fights, it was kind of hard to track who was fighting who in a little bit. But the fight scene really didn't last that long. The big fight was actually between Goblin and Peter. And I want to get to that in a second. But I want to talk about one of my other little favorite moments is when Doc Ock and Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker get to see each other again, and they get their little lines. He's like, I'm just trying to do better.
Yeah, which is what he said in the second Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's something about Otto Octavius. There's a shot where it lingers on him holding the arc reactor. And there's just something about the thought that he went back and used it to stop that other reactor shutting down. And brought efficient energy to that New York City. Just
power of the sun in the palm of my hand. I love that he said that. I had chills there too. Because that's all he wants is sustainable energy. And he now found a universe that has it.
And all right, so this happened somewhere in there. We got to talk about Andrew's redemption.
Yes.
His
and
Spider-Man
this is something
redemption.
that the fans predicted that they wanted to happen, and then it happened, and it was so satisfying.
Mm-hmm.
And I teared up a little bit there too because he started tearing up. Are you okay? Yeah, Mama. No, we were not okay. The fans
we were not okay.
Dude, that kind of got me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
He got his little redemption, especially since we're coming from a scene where before they were at the scaffolding, he was talking about losing Gwen, and that he
stopped pulling his punches.
He still blames himself, and he had a dark period from it, and he's still struggling with it. And now he has a moment to save another Spider-Man's girlfriend, and it was just a beautiful moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really good. Very well done. We really don't have much else to talk about. We do have the Spider-Man versus Goblin. We have the big sacrifice. The last scene with the new suit, the end credit scenes. But before we get to those, go get them, Tiger.
Oh, yes. So, in the list of stuff I have to keep us on track, I said the Go Get Him Tiger, big CGI fight coming up. And that's a direct quote from Deadpool and Deadpool 2. And it fits so perfectly with this CGI fight because one of the most iconic things that Spider-Man girlfriend, most iconically MJ, calls him Tiger. So Go Get Him Tiger, big CGI fight coming up. We got Lizard, Sandman,
Electro, Doc Ock, Ringo.
Yeah.
I still want to know how some of them got there. Like, I know how Electro got there. I know how Sandman got there. Lizard, I guess he could have swam it.
It showed it. He swam. It showed it.
But how did Doc get there?
Well, he didn't show up towards the end.
Oh, wait, no, he probably went to Ned and came through the portal.
It's possible.
Maybe. Because he wasn't there for the big, huge fight. For the CGI
no, he was there like right toward the end.
Yeah.
Octavius and all his arms got on a Staten Island ferry.
I need to go over there.
Go around one side of the Statue of Liberty, came around the other side, and then got on.
Or maybe he just Hulk jumped with his forearms, like propelled off the nearest building. Maybe some other superhero. Maybe like a drone. He had the little clamper spin like helicopter blades, and float him out there. Disney, we need answers to this question: how did Doc Ock get to Liberty Island?
I'll have to rewatch it because I've only seen it once, and you find so much more stuff on the rewatch. Maybe he did come through the portal. I can't remember. But
I'm gonna break my DVD watching this. I'm gonna be really glad for a digital copy on this one.
So they work hard to cure all of the heroes, and some of them get little moments with each other. I love the moment between Andrew Garfield Spider-Man and Electro, where he's like, "You weren't a nobody, Max. You weren't a nobody.
Yeah,
you're not going back to being a nobody."
And then the Doc Connors scene
with
Andrews as well. Toby's with Sandman, I feel like was cut a little not short.
Sandman felt
but
like he was there just to have another villain.
It wasn't anything new. It was archival. I mean,
He just wanted to get home.
Yeah, he just wanted to get home, so that was pretty good. And then we got the big final, the real final fight of Green Goblin and
we have
Tom,
never seen Tom Holland Spider-Man with this much rage in his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the way he looked at Green Goblin, and we've never heard him like threaten someone like that. I want to kill you myself.
That's the spirit.
Yeah. And then he picks up the glider and he goes to bring it down on him, and Tobey Maguire just stands there with this force of awesomeness and says,
"Yes."
Like,
I mean, he was not pulling his punches at all. And if anyone knows anything about Spider-Man, you know he has to pull his punches.
Oh yeah.
He's not quite on Superman's level of everything being like cardboard, but he's freaking close.
Yes.
So, like, you know, it's kind of like Ant-Man, you know, being able to throw a punch in small form, but like that a lot for Spider-Man in human form. So, but last scene, the big sacrifice. Can we talk about for a moment Green Goblin getting that little sneak stab at Toby, and all of us fans think he's gonna die, and it was just a quick moment. Yeah,
that was not okay. You
can't do that
there.
Is it going to be easy to freak out the fans toward the end of the movie? Oh yeah, super easy, barely an inconvenience. Like, we'll just have Green Goblin stab Tobey Maguire.
So,
dude, I mean, it was a good call.
Of the skies opening, and you can actually, some people have looked back, you can actually see specific villains.
Rhino.
Yeah, you saw Rhino,
Craven,
Craven,
Black Cat. You got so many of them. Yep.
Yeah. And they're all coming through. They have no hope. Doctor Strange can't stop it.
So what do? You do the spell. You do the spell the way I originally wanted it done.
But worse, I mean, everyone has to completely forget him.
Mm-hmm. And the other scene that made me cry was him going to tell MJ that he loves her, and her saying, "No, tell me when you find me." Like, what? Like, that's straight out of One More Day. Mm-hmm. The whole fact that your soul will know that y'all were meant to be together, and you will not. Like, oh my goodness, that hurt.
And then him not telling her, like when he goes and meets him and doesn't. I mean, I get it. He doesn't want. He doesn't want her to be in harm's way, and he knows his life will always put her in harm's way. I get it, but it's sad because they have such great chemistry. I think eventually down the line we might see them together again. I want to see him date some other people. Like, there's so many different small relationships that Peter has before he gets his final go-to relationship. And I think that him and MJ are going to meet again. I don't think he's ever going to tell her about forgetting or anything, because actually in the comics, he meets MJ outside of high school. So I think they're going to naturally meet somewhere in the real world and build a new friendship and relationship. I think he's going to heal through some other relationships that don't work out.
If I remember correctly, in the animated series, it was just the fact that she was the granddaughter of the lady next door. Like, they played on that angle very, very well. So I could see them doing that.
She was the girl next door.
The fact that she's still wearing the broken Dahlia necklace, finds her, was very, very deep too. But we got to talk about the scene with Happy at Aunt May's grave. We got
Jon Favreau is really good and doesn't get enough credit for the acting side of what he does.
Oh yeah,
I love him.
He's good.
He's a national treasure.
Yeah, he's a great director, but he doesn't have a lot of range as an actor.
But when he plays Happy Hogan,
I love
all of the range he has comes flowing out.
I'm not saying
I'm
not saying Jon Favreau deserves an acting award or anything, but he makes me feel something, and I like feeling it.
John Favreau is part of two people who saved the Star Wars franchise. I don't need anything else.
Yeah, Favreau and Filoni. This is the way.
This is the way. John Favreau's the way.
Favroni, baby.
That new suit.
Yeah,
let's
get
iconic.
into
Dude, classic red and blue. Yeah, that was perfect.
Right.
So,
which he had to take inspiration from Andrew's suit for that.
I don't have a PlayStation, so I've never been able to play this PlayStation Spider-Man.
Dude, I've been playing that game nonstop for the past few days. Oh my god!
I want to so bad. I've never gotten the chance to play it. But I have seen clips from it, and there's a scene I see people use sometimes when they're changing their outfit, where they do these rooftop jumps and stuff like that, and it mirrors that end scene of him jumping from roof to roof and flying by the tree so much. And actually, I've watched a lot of clips from the Spider-Man game, and I think they took a lot of inspiration from how the fans received that game and put a lot of those aspects into this story.
Like you said, fan service. Sony knew what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
They knew that Disney had the story covered, so they were like, all right, well, we got to mix in some of our other, profitable Spider-Man franchises into this, so what are we going to do? That's why Venom's in the after credit scene.
Yeah,
so
Eddie Brock.
I love that. I had so many theories with how they were going to handle that, and I love that he's just gone and he left behind some goo, and now we could see
Danny Rojas
a whole different.
Okay, yeah. See, I have a theory about the goo though. If you're an organism, a living organism from another universe, shouldn't the whole thing be sent back, not just a tiny piece left behind?
Okay, but so I have a theory. I have a theory on that.
I know he's from a different planet, but could that mean something?
Well, yeah, but I mean, we know why that happened because
the hive mind have something.
But that's that was going to be my suggestion is the hive mind, because right at the end of Venom: Let There Be Carnage,
they get sent to our universe because of the hive mind.
Because it goes across universes, not just planets, universes. So the Venom in Spider-Man 3,
knew that Peter Parker was Spider-Man.
Knew that Peter Parker was Spider-Man. So that Venom in the Sonyverse, in the Venomverse, knows because of him unlocking it. So it's one of those things. It's kind of like it got left because the main sentience that is Venom got sent back, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, there's always, you could ask Doctor Strange, he's going to say, well, there's a grand scheme to the cosmos. Maybe that was the only way to get a Venom symbiote into our main timeline.
Could maybe the hive mind have acknowledged that there wasn't a Venom on that universe, and therefore it righted that wrong?
That's possible.
That could be. I mean, the symbiotes really do want to be everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, that's their whole goal.
Yeah, so if they're in a universe where they're like, there ain't no symbiotes here, it's gonna leave a little piece behind.
Oh yeah,
if it can find a way. And I want to see that thing bond with him so bad.
But do you think it'll start with him, or will they flip it and start?
So many fans. I mean, Kevin Feige and Marvel, they listen to their fans, and a lot of fans want that iconic Venom look. Like, the only complaint that the Venom movies have really gotten is the fact that the Spider-Man symbol is not on Venom. I think we're going to see
talked
that.
about that on Let There Be Carnage.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that he is going to bond. I think they're going to have an Eddie Brock in that universe, and I have a few thoughts on who I think should play him, but I'll tell you not even an episode.
Maybe not Eddie Brock, though. It could be Flash Thompson.
Well, they would have to do a lot
Agent Venom
with him. Because he's nowhere near being.
Yeah, he would need some more development because in the comic, and I've heard fan theories on that too. Like, what would it take? Well, you have to understand in the comics, when Flash becomes Agent Venom, it's because he was inspired by Peter. Like, once he found out that Peter was Spider-Man, he was inspired by him to not only do better, but to go serve his country. He gets in the military, serves his country, loses his legs, or one of his legs.
Both.
Is it both?
He's in a
and
wheelchair.
That's why he is brought into the Agent Venom project. But that symbiote had already bonded with Spider-Man first to get the logo and the web slinging ability, then Eddie Brock to get the anger, and then they toned it down and gave it to Flash Thompson. So you would have to see development on Flash Thompson and more development on the symbiote. I guess what's the word I'm looking for? The specimen that we have now in our universe.
I think eventually down the road we could see an Agent Venom because I mean they source from the comics a lot, and I would not be opposed to watching a whole full length movie on Flash getting some character development or even a show, Disney Plus show of him not getting the symbiote. I want him to get the symbiote like at the end of whatever series we get for him if we ever do. But I would love to see him growing as a person because he's a very cocky. I mean, he's young. I mean, age can mature anyone. But right now, he's a real cocky, selfish SOB. And I would love to see some characters.
You'd have to do another Eddie Brock.
Yeah, you'd have to have another Eddie Brock first.
First.
But here's a thought too, and because I just thought about this while y'all were talking about that. Flash without Peter to pick on is a boring Flash. Like he made Peter the butt of his jokes, trying to be funny, and no one liked it.
Yeah,
because everyone liked Peter. So maybe that would push him to a different perspective now that he's forgotten who Peter is, and now that Peter still remembers everybody, maybe he can reach out to Flash now, realizing Flash really just needs a friend.
Yeah,
so there's that development that could happen as well. So I don't know.
And
that
they've hinted towards the importance of Flash. Like, they don't just have him as a guy who mocks him. We get to see little moments of how lonely he is. In Far From Home, he's when they're all coming back from the trip, he's at the airport ready to be picked up, and he sees Peter getting picked up by his aunt in a very loving way, and he's getting picked up by his butler or whatever. And he's like, father couldn't make it or something. And you can see how sad he was. Yeah. Like, he's very lonely. And so I do think that they might eventually be going towards some character development for him.
There was an Easter egg that I was watching on Screen Rant. They pointed out, I can't remember the exact Easter egg, but it was pretty much proof that Flash bought a lot of his followers on, like, you could tell from the names or something like that they were all bought followers. So it wasn't like he actually had fans following him, even though the live stream was, looked like it was hopping, but it actually wasn't. It was a bunch of bought followers and bots and all that. So, but yeah, I would love to see that, honestly.
I'm looking up something right now. I'm trying to remember this guy's name. Hannibal Buress, Coach Wilson. I love his comedic relief in this, and that he's someone who just full on just believes Mysterio's like, this guy's a criminal. Why is he here? Why do we have this?
We said the same thing about Captain America and Homecoming.
Thank you, Captain. Pretty sure this guy's a war criminal now, but whatever. I have to show these videos. It's required by the state. Let's do it.
He's got a very downward look at it, but they at the world, but they play it off as comedic relief.
JP is great.
JP Spoof. Love him.
Far From Home, as a man of science.
Witches. Oh, wait.
Witches.
Wizards? It was witches, yeah.
You can walk through the hallway, or you can crawl on the ceiling. You can, whatever you want. Just do whatever you want. I love it. It's so funny.
So, guys, Dustin, as one of the biggest Spider-Man fans that I know, is there anything else you really want to say about this?
The iconic suit. So, a lot of people say that the iconic suit is a blue and red, but originally in the comics it was a black and red. The blue was used as an accent or a glimmer on the suit, and was later changed because people saw it as a blue with a black glimmer. So at first, when I saw the iconic suit, I did not like it. I hated it. But every single time that I see it, I grow to love it more and more and more. It's a great suit. It really is. I don't know why I hated it at first.
Well, because you had that. If I had that knowledge, I probably would have had the same view. I didn't know that going in. So when I saw it and I just know what the iconic suit's supposed to look like, it just gave me chills seeing just I mean, it's a very bold choice to have that color of blue in the MCU, and they pulled it off so well.
Well, Phase 4 has really all been about giving people their comic accurate looks.
Yes.
So
we talked about that in Hawkeye too.
Yeah.
Like in the Hawkeye episode.
I mean, they're going so far, Kingpin's look in Hawkeye is literally one comic book cover, and it's never appeared ever again. And it was Vincent D'Onofrio's idea to do the Hawaiian shirt, and I just love it.
I found out something else that he was in, because I don't know the actor very well, but I didn't realize that he was in Men in Black as the bug guy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He was
Really?
He also had a long stretch on Law and Order: Criminal Intent.
Okay.
He's very
so if you want more Vincent, he's easy to find. It's real good. Talking about the iconic suit and the last scene that we see where he's rooftops, Rockefeller tree in the background, all that. So I had this conversation with Beard, but I want to get y'all's input on this. Don't y'all just think that this is a great way for him to now start working for J. Jonah Jameson? Because J. Jonah forgot that Peter was Spider-Man, but he's already built up this empire on Spider-Man's a menace. That doesn't go away. So
he's got to make money.
Yeah, he's still got to make money. So now he gets to work for J. Jonah Jameson.
And living in New York as a broke person, I mean, I've heard people from New York talk about how expensive it is, even just to have a crappy little apartment. Peter is struggling, and he's going to take whatever job he can get.
Oh yeah. I mean, this would be a great way for me to become a journalist because, like, media outlets don't need photos anymore necessarily because they don't make newspapers. Like,
but you need them for your blog. You need them for your website.
And also, just like we do for our show, sometimes you can have images pop up afterwards, and so I'm sure he still wants those pictures of Spider-Man.
Can you imagine if he wants him to Photoshop them? Like he asks him, would you make me some fake doctored Spider-Man? But they're real.
Because this J. Jonah Jameson doesn't have the same integrity as the one we saw in the Sam Raimi universe.
Conspiracy.
Oh yeah, because he fired Eddie after he did the Photoshop.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
He doesn't have the same morals.
Right.
I think that would be really cool for him to start working for J. Jonah the next time we see him. I think that would be really cool. So I guess before we give our ratings, and even before we get to the Talk Nerdy segment, we have our Night of the Nerd Table, the first night to join our Geeks of the Roundtable. Josh had some input on this movie as well, also his favorite superhero. So let's check that out. Hey guys, we are here with our friend Josh, the first night to join us from the Knights of the Nerds table in one of our episodes. And he, as he has said in past episodes, is a huge Spider-Man fan. He couldn't be a part of the recording, but we felt like this episode needed some Josh.
We wanted to hear him talk about how much he hated this movie.
So Josh, just take it away with favorite scene. What'd you think about the movie? We know it was awesome, so we know you probably had to think so as well. So what'd you think?
Yes, so we talked at length over on Knights of the Nerds table about our thoughts about the movie. EJ and I, we did a spoiler-free review, which we tried to keep things kind of short and sweet. We didn't want to give away too much. Then we did a spoiler-filled review where we kind of delve into it more. And
links in the description for those. Yes.
Yes. Go check it out if you'd like to. We'd love any and all engagement. Let us know what you think. But yeah, so my favorite scene, I'll start there. My favorite scene is definitely the scene where Peter's in Happy's apartment, right? He's got all the villains there, and he's trying to fix them. He's trying to send them back without their powers or their ailments or whatever it is that kind of turns them into a supervillain, basically, so that when they do go back, they don't die. They don't meet their fate again at the hands of the other Spider-Men, correct? So that scene is so beautifully shot, and when you watch him using his spider sense and he's honing in, and you hear Aunt May in the background, Peter, what's wrong, what's happening, I don't know, and you could see him focusing in, and then it clicks, it hits, he knows, and he webs up the Goblin's hand, and he knows, he's figured it out. And I like the scene for a few different reasons. The first one, like I said, it's because the scene is so perfectly shot. I mean, excellent shooting and directing going on with where it's focused on his face, and you just kind of have the one shot. The one shot scene is so cool. It kind of reminds me of like Daredevil, the Netflix show Daredevil, where there was a lot of the fight scenes. Like there's the hallway scene that got a lot of praise in that first episode where he's just kicking butt, and it's like I want to say it's like a good 10 minutes long or something like that of just him kicking butt, but it's all one shot. There's no cuts. There's no boom. Now we're on this angle. Now we're on that angle. And that's what I really liked about the scene, is how it was shot and portrayed him really maturing and developing that spider sense, because you don't really see it in some of the previous movies as much. It's very kind of lackluster, and he's sort of like still figuring out how it works and what to do with it. But this movie really brings out the spider sense, which is so cool to see. And Willem Dafoe is like, what an amazing actor. And then he just, going off like Norman's on sabbatical, honey. He calls him honey. Like, well, what the heck? Right. There's no way that was in the script. There's no way. Like, I'd love to hear that, but
I felt like he was channeling his character from Boondock Saints a little bit in this movie, especially because it's like he got to do that in Raimi's verse a little, but this one he really kind of got to open up and show his range.
Yeah, he just went full psycho, but you get to see the range, right? You see the psycho, but you also see the like scared, timid, like Norman. Like I don't know what to do. And EJ and I actually had a bit of a debate on our channel because he was sort of criticizing the movie because he felt that in this scene, Peter's getting duped again, right? He feels like we had in Far From Home, he gets duped, right? We have a superhero that's supposed to have a sixth sense, basically, and he gets the wool completely pulled over his eyes and is like, if you've seen the movie, which I'm sure the majority of you guys watching this have, Quentin Beck convinces him that he's a good guy and he's the worst guy, right? And he's at the beginning of this movie because it picks up right where the last one left off, and he's right that he gets tricked, right? But we see him being able to see through the illusions and see through Mysterio a little bit towards the end. And I disagreed with EJ and kind of pushed back a little bit and was like, no, I don't think it was that Green Goblin duped or tricked Peter yet again. I think what it was when Peter sees Norman for the first time at the soup kitchen with or homeless shelter. I think it was kind of both.
Feast.
Yes, where Aunt May is. I think that really truly is Norman.
Yes.
Because right before that, he smashes the helmet, and he has the fight with Goblin. And Goblin says he was like sort of watching from behind Norman's eyes. And I think the point when the switch happens is when the sense goes off.
Yes.
And that's why he's like honing in and finds that. So it's not so much that he was tricked; it was just that he was coming across something that he couldn't really deal with Beck. Where Beck was like, Quentin or Mysterio was pretending to be somebody that he was not, where Norman is literally two different people in one. Where you have Norman and you have Goblin.
I heard someone describe that whole scene as it's a fight scene in and of itself. It's a psychological fight.
Yes.
I completely agree with you that I don't believe it was Green Goblin pretending to be nice. It was definitely Norman had control, and now he's gone. But
then as Peter starts talking about using the word fixing, I think, and that was a personal opinion of mine. It's the word usage. Because Peter's making it sound like they have a problem, and of course Green Goblin's at the back of the brain going, "I'm not a problem.
I'm perfect."
He
literally
perfect.
says
it's split personality.
Line. Yeah, right. I forget the exact line, but he's towards the end of the scene, right before like the fight breaks out, which I guess is still kind of part of this scene. He says something along the lines of like, gods don't have to choose, or something along that lines. He calls himself and the other villains gods. And that's what really, especially Electro, makes Electro be like, like, wait a minute, like, what am I doing? I'm letting this thing take away no, heck no. Like, I like who I am here. I look good. I feel good. My powers are cooler. I don't look so lame like I did in Amazing Spider-Man 2. I'm ready to go. And I think that's really the crux of it is you're absolutely right, is like the wording, and of course Peter didn't mean anything by it. He had nothing but the best of intentions and the purest of intentions, but Goblin was like, wait a minute, I'm not broken, I am literally perfection.
And it's very typical of a split personality, because if you especially in movies, but in real life, even with people who deal with split personality, certain words or phrases can trigger that shift.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what happened. He triggered the shift, and the fact that his sense is so strong that he's able to feel that switch in his mind, that is incredible.
Yep.
I mean, we saw his sense earlier in the movie. It was so strong that it could move his body even when his spirit wasn't in it.
That was
so like that was
very,
pretty cool.
very
But
cool
that was
moment.
like the first. That was the reactionary version of the spider sense. Is how I felt. Like it's what makes him dodge out of the way without actually knowing something's coming kind of sense. But to have the mental version too was very, very cool. What did you think about the MCU's take on the Uncle Ben scene?
So a couple of thoughts about that. That it's a good segue, right? Because that's literally the end of this scene. Really, I don't know how you really want to split the scenes up, so to speak. But this is like the culmination of, the fight that happens, and then Aunt May dies, and Aunt May delivers the line. I said this over on our channel. I'm going to say it again. I literally looked over at my girlfriend. We were in the theaters watching it together. And as soon as she said, with great power comes great responsibility, I was like, she's dead. She is dead. She is no longer alive after those words left her mouth. She's a dead person. Watch. And of course she dies. Now that's obvious. Like that's the line, right? So I think everybody kind of knew she was dead, but I wanted to pat myself on the back a little bit, because right before we went into the theater, I have my best friend, name's Brian, actually, and him and I and EJ talk a lot about EJ is a part of Knights of the Nerds Table 2, for those who don't know. We talk a lot about this nerd stuff, and he was sort of like, okay, what are your final predictions? What are the cameos? Who dies? All this. And I had been saying for quite a while that Aunt May dies, that we're going to see Matt Murdock, that we're going to see all the Spider-Man. So like I nailed all my predictions. So I was super happy. So it was sort of like a haha, I was right moment. But also it was super sad because they did a really good job. Like the acting that's done by both people, by both Aunt May and Peter here, is excellent. And it's such a touching scene, and I really like how they did it, because I mean, obviously I'm sure you guys are doing all kinds of spoiler alerts and whatnot, but I mean the movie's been out for so long now that like if you haven't seen
actually,
it,
this is a beginning of the episode. We said this is we're not going to say spoiler because we waited this long for that. Like, for that
if you don't know at this point, then I don't know what rock you're living under. But but at the end, what this movie really was, or really what these three movies, this trilogy was an origin trilogy, and we didn't know it until we got to this movie, and that like was kind of insane for me. And I think that they needed to have like an Uncle Ben, but they did it in the best way possible, because we loved Aunt May. We were all team Aunt May, right? Like there was nothing to dislike about her. She's funny, she's supportive of Peter, hers and Happy's relationship is just, it's comedy throughout both the movies that it's involved. Like it's so much fun, and she was such a great Aunt May. And then she has her like little thing with Tony, and Tony's like, why the heck is your aunt so attractive? And it's funny, right? Like there's all these jokes. You get to know her over the course of these three movies, whereas when you look back at the Amazing Spider-Man and the original Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, you don't have that same relationship with Uncle Ben that you got to have with Aunt May through these movies. So you have a little bit of a relationship with Uncle Ben because you see a couple scenes with him in Peter, Tobey Maguire's Peter, and sure, it hits you a little bit, right, when it happens, but this hits so much deeper because of the relationship you had developed with Aunt May.
We felt what Peter felt.
Exactly. So I think that it was a great scene. I also think that it was necessary because it's sort of that final step in Peter Parker's becoming Spider-Man, right? And it was sort of, like I mentioned before, this whole 3-movie origin, and we didn't that thought didn't really click in my head until this happened. During the scene I was in the movie theater. I was thinking, I was like, holy crap, they're doing a 3-movie origin.
Mm-hmm.
Because I went into this movie knowing that they had announced 3 more movies, right? Another trilogy. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. But until this scene, it didn't really click. I was like, oh, they're setting it up, but they're taking their time with it so that it's done right. So I think it was done super well and great scene, emotional. Like I said, we all felt it because we had this relationship with the character.
I thought that it was going to be happy. Like when I was going into the theater, I told my brother Dustin, I think I was right about what I thought, just was wrong about who it was going to happen to. I said I had a feeling that Green Goblin and Tom Holland's Spider-Man he was going to be more Tom Holland's villain than he ever was Tobey's, based on the events that happened in this movie. But I thought it was going to be Happy. I thought he was going to get a closer relationship with Happy, and I thought Happy was going to deliver the line and be the Uncle Ben type. And I had a similar moment to you where I was sitting in the theater, and I thought she was finally going to be okay. First, I thought she was going to die. Then I thought she was okay. And then just like you, when she said the line, I was like,
yeah.
Yep.
No, that was the kiss of death right there. I think that's what they wanted to do. I think they wanted to take us through that journey. I think the majority of people were like, oh my goodness, she's going to die. But then she stands up and she's talking and she's kind of like, because usually during the death scene, they're laying there and they're bleeding everywhere and they're like struggling to talk. And then they're like, oh, I love you. And then they die, right?
Yeah. And the fact that Peter was the one that realizes it when he pulls his hand away from holding her.
She didn't even recognize that she was dying.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like she's giving him this pep talk and she's not talking as if like, Peter, this is the last words I'm ever going to say to you. She's like, no, you're just literally having a crisis right now. So I'm going to do what I've always done for you, which is be your rock, your foundation, your voice of reason, the person that keeps you going, the tide that carries your current, like however you want to say it. And she's all about him. And then it's not to like the last moment where she's like, and even then, like, I don't know that there's ever a true moment where she realizes that she's dying. It's Peter who kind of realizes it.
Yeah.
And he's trying to like, hey, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. Like, don't worry about it.
I didn't realize this.
She's worried about him.
Yeah. And I didn't realize this till after the fact, but he echoes back a line that she had given. I think it was in the first movie, which was Homecoming, of it's just us.
Yes.
Like we're all we have. He echoes that back to her as like when he realizes it, he's like, it's just us. It's me and you.
And Marvel's done such a good job of that with the callbacks and the echo backs and everything. Like Iron Man probably being the best example we've had so far. I am Iron Man. That the whole book ending of Iron Man's story.
22 movies long book endings here.
And they've done such a good job of doing that. And I think it's very wise of them to continue to do things like that, even with characters like Aunt May that aren't as big of a character as Tony Stark, obviously, but still a major character in Spider-Man's universe, in his world, I should say, I guess.
I want to run something by you. And I mentioned this when we were doing this whole episode that this is inserted in, so listeners are going to hear kind of a repeat here. But I mentioned that I think that Peter's never really had a relationship with his Uncle Ben, that Aunt May's probably always been kind of the single mom type. What do you think about that?
I think that that's what they were trying to portray. I don't think there's really a whole lot of evidence. Maybe I'm missing something. And if you guys think otherwise, like definitely leave a comment down below and let us know if you noticed
the
something.
Suitcase.
The only scene we could think of was the suitcase, which was in Far From Home, and it had BFP. So, but even that, like, that's not a guarantee that Uncle
could
Ben
just be a
was ever
reference.
person. Could just be a
And
reference.
I think that's more of what it felt like was like a reference, an Easter egg, because we know the Marvel films are full of them. They love tossing little things in like, hey, that's cool. Hey, that's cool. And it's not so much that there's like a deep, deep meaning behind it. It's more of just like a nod to something or someone.
Right.
And I think that's more of what that was, because there's nothing else explored about it. They don't talk about Uncle Ben. They don't discuss, where he's been, what he's been. Like, I can't think of him really even being mentioned. So I think you can tell enough about Aunt May and like who she is as a character. I think that losing Uncle Ben was probably very like maturing for her. Like she had to do a lot of growing and you know, finding her own strength. But I think a lot of like maybe what she went through in losing Uncle Ben is what makes her such a great aunt / mom, really, to Peter, and being able to raise Peter and be so strong for him when he's going through the things that he's going through.
And I love her sass, like in the moment where she's when she's delivering the great power comes great responsibility line. It's in response to Peter sitting there thinking, "Oh, none of this is my mess," because he's repeating back what Green Goblin put in his head. And I said this earlier too, but I love how she came in with the, "Oh, you mean that garbage that guy was talking about? No, we don't play with that in this household."
Yeah. No, that's a very good point. To where it's like her with great power comes great responsibility is delivered perfectly in line with who her character has been throughout these 3 movies, where she's calling Peter out on his moral, where he has made the moral decision to not push the button on the box and send these villains to their death, even though Doctor Strange is like, listen, this is just how it works. Like, you're creating a bigger problem. Everybody in his life, well, not everybody, but like Doctor Strange, the majority like of people would just say, it's not your pig, not your farm, don't worry about it, hit the button and move on. You can't really change this, nor should you try to, because you're going to cause bigger problems. But she's the one, and it happens earlier when Goblin first gets introduced, because Norman is there, and they have that little conversation kind of between the two of them where he's saying, Peter says something, I can't quote it exactly, obviously. I've only seen the movie twice, but he's kind of basically saying, like, I don't really think that this is, you know, what I should be doing. And then she basically kind of calls him out and is like, is this what's best for them or what's best for you? Like, who are you thinking about in this scenario? And that's what kind of makes him think like, yeah, you know what, you're right. And it's sort of the same thing to where she's delivering the line, but she's saying like, no, you made the right choice. We're here now, and this sucks. I'm dying, but like, you made the right decision.
It felt more like advice and than it did like in the Raimi universe. In any other time we've heard the line delivered in cinema, it felt more like, to me, it felt more like a mantra, like this Confucius say kind of wisdom that Ben was just trying to pass on to Peter. Not that it meant any less for that Peter, like for that Peter,
it felt less cheesy,
you know. And
I'll say it.
Yes, but for this, it felt organic. It felt like it could have just been something that Aunt May just said all the time. Instead of like that she got it from somewhere else,
or even something that she just said in the moment, not because it was like the line that everybody knows from the comics.
Right, and she said it the right way too.
Yeah, the original way from the comic books.
A lot of people don't know this either, but Uncle Ben actually didn't say "with great power comes great responsibility" originally. It was actually at the end of the comic, Peter's walking away, and it was like a narration. From the author. It wasn't actually Uncle Ben who said it to him first. Yeah, now in later iterations,
I have a photo that I'll drop in here. As a matter of fact, I'll see if I can show it to you guys.
But actually, one little minor error is Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man mentions that his Uncle Ben said it too. But if you look back at the scene, technically he said a version of it, but he really kind of spread it out.
Yes, this is exactly what I was talking about. This photo here,
and a short distance away, the narrator, and a short distance away, Spider-Man says, "My fault, all my fault. If only I had stopped him when I could have, but I didn't. And now Uncle Ben is dead." The narrator continues, and a lean, silent figure slowly fades into the gathering darkness, aware at last that in this world with great power there must also come great responsibility. So. Yeah, and that's the narrator originally said it in that comic. I don't know which comic that's from, but I do have that photo, and I'll share it on the screen there. So, oh man, anything else really just to round out this awesome conversation about this? Because I mean, this is your favorite superhero.
It is, yeah. So I guess just to sort of put the cherry on the top, I say on the cake here, this was everything that I wanted it to be, and I've talked about this at length with friends on the channel, etc. But I'm just so happy to even talk about it again and say the same things that I've been saying. Where this was like, maybe it sounds cheesy to some of the people listening, but it was like it's emotional for me. It was emotional because I started going to the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, Sam Raimi. Those came out in the early 2000s. 2001 is when the first one came out, right? I'm pretty sure it's 2001, 2002.
With that awesome soundtrack by the lead singer of Nickelback.
Yes, exactly. So I was a child then, a literal child, and I had an older half brother. It's complicated. We won't get into it. But anyways, brother, older, took me to the movie theater, and then it became a tradition. We went to the next one, and we went to the third one, and then like Spider-Man has been my favorite superhero since like I was a kid. It's not like I'm a bandwagon I just hopped on. I literally, since as early as I can remember, it's been Spider-Man #1 and everybody else behind him, and
like
that's never changed even a little bit. So
it's not a bandwagon thing like with Moon Knight coming out.
Exactly. So being able to watch Tobey Maguire and then being able to watch Andrew Garfield and then being able to see all three of them on screen together, the way they pulled it off, like I just was so filled with just happiness and euphoria. It was great. It was such a good time watching the movie. I loved watching it again. I can't wait to watch it again when it comes out.
Oh yeah.
I've already watched it twice. Honestly was trying to like fit in 3 times, but I just wasn't able to do it. And I absolutely love the movie. Toby, Andrew, and Tom's chemistry on screen was amazing.
Right?
The big fight scene at the end. Yes, it could have gone way wrong. The jokes were there. The comedy was there. The fact that they took the issues that the other Spider-Man had and sort of resolve them, everybody gets their redemption. You have Andrew who's sitting there like, I'm kind of lame. I'm not really cool. And they're like, no, like, stop for a second. You're amazing.
Yeah.
Because he's the one that gets the most crap. Right. And so they're breaking the fourth wall, really. You know, they're saying like, no, you've gotten a lot of crap, Andrew / Peter.
Right.
You were amazing. Okay.
This movie was the perfect level of meta. Like,
I don't think that I mentioned this in the episode, but I think the hate that even Spider-Man 3 gets and Spider-Man 2 gets is a lot unwarranted. Was there errors in those movies? Yes. But there's a lot of good scenes too. One of my favorite Spider-Man scenes of all time, even trumping anything that happened in this movie, was actually in Spider-Man 2 with Andrew Garfield. It's the scene where Electro's kind of going crazy, and it's that slow-mo, he's saving those people, the woman's about to grab the railing that's electrified. I thought that is peak Spider-Man material right there.
Oh yeah.
No, it's a very good scene. There's definitely things to like about those other movies, and we are planning on the channel to really try and do a huge expose, kind of deep dive into Spider-Man and live action stuff. So I don't want to ramble on forever, but I really just wanted to make the point that in this movie, they did such a good job of delivering on all the rumors. You know, Absolutely. They did what we wanted them to do, and they did it well, because there's so many ways that they could have screwed it up, and they did it perfectly. Everybody's relationship, you've got Toby's Peter and his relationship with the Goblin and his relationship with Doc Ock. You've got Andrew and his relationship with Electro. I mean, there's just so many relationships, so many things that they were able to bring to a point and resolve and do it so well. And then moving into the ending of the movie, I am so excited to see where they take it, because they've sort of hit the reset button on Peter Parker, Tom Holland's Peter Parker. And now that the multiverse is a thing, and we've got the Multiverse of Madness coming out, like literally the sky's the limit, and anything could happen.
I mentioned this in the episode. I think it's a great starting point for the next few movies, because for one main reason, because now we finally get to see, like, because Peter's living by himself, and he's going to need money. How else to make money but take pictures of Spider-Man and sell them to J Jonah Jameson? So, like, so we might actually see that. So we might actually get to see that. That's really cool. We have the handmade suit at the end, which was definitely inspired by the suits he saw of, you know, the other 2 Spider-Men. So they kind of merged that together.
We get like a split second of a really good look at the suit, and we'll see like if they change it at all once the next movie actually comes out. It looks amazing, and we were discussing. There was a big debate going on with the Knights and Brian. We were talking about the best suits, and my vote's this one. I think it might be this one as far as live action goes. It didn't used to be this one for me. It didn't even used to be Tom Holland's. Actually, the one that I really, really like is kind of a sleeper pick. You guys know the PS4 game, and it's now on PS5. So like the one with the giant white spider.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of on the cover of that game. I think that suit's amazing. I think that's
an amazing suit.
That's one of my favorite ones. But this one, how comic book accurate it is, it's like the handmade thing. There's a lot of people who are criticizing Tom Holland's Spider-Man, saying he's, Iron Man Jr.
Yeah,
and
well,
I have some thoughts on that, but we'll that's a discussion for another episode, I guess.
I think there was a reason for that, though. But
yeah,
yes,
I hope I'm wrong about this, but I think they're gonna dial down the blue. I hope they don't, though, because I think the blue was the color of blue they chose was a bold choice, but the right choice.
Yeah, I think people in modern superhero movies feel the need to make everything dark.
Yeah,
right.
It doesn't have to,
because it feels they don't want to
like
get
Zack Snyder.
yes. They don't want to get too cartoonish, right? They don't want to be goofy and funny, which is why it's hard to have, like, how do you have Wolverine with the big, kind of eyes?
Because it needs to make sense. We talked about that in the Hawkeye episode. Like, I'm sure at some point someone was like, what about, why isn't Hawkeye wearing his flourishing big thing?
Why isn't his entire
because
outfit
it doesn't make
like
sense
purple,
in a real world.
Yeah.
Like in a real world, that functionally doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It's just like the scale thing for Captain America's armor. Like we saw a hint of it in the Nomad suit in Infinity War, but he never had like the scaly, kind of outfit. Because it doesn't make sense. Things have advanced since that was the peak of design. So
yeah.
But well, Josh, thank you so much for sitting down with us. Like I said, this episode wouldn't have been complete without our other resident Spider-Man nerd. So thank you so much, and we'll look forward to seeing you again soon. We have an unboxing video with Josh that is somewhere on the channel. Go and find it, where we sent him a Christmas gift of sorts that had a lot of nerdy stuff in it. So go and check that out for more nerdy conversation as well, because I don't think we could get together without talking nerdy a little bit. But in the meantime, I guess let's get back to this episode. Thanks, Josh.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Josh.
That was a lot of fun.
Really, really appreciate you being a part of the show. Sorry you couldn't be here for the recording, but glad that we could get something worked out. And I guess with that, let's get on to our Talk Nerdy segment. We got some Hawkeye stuff to talk about. Intro music, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Each episode, the Bear and the Beard ask a question that they want your input on, along with sharing comments, suggestions, and other things they have already collected. They love to hear from their fans, so let's get nerdy with it.
So, Barry, did some of our fans talk nerdy to us?
So, our main question from the Hawkeye episode was, what was your favorite trick arrow? But I think it got a little confused when I started posting all the stuff about the Hawkeye episode, because I asked the question when I posted it, did you like Hawkeye? Did you like it as much as us? So actually I got some responses to that were actually pretty good. And I do have one favorite arrow. Charles said, I liked it more than I thought I would. After seeing Multiverse and Time Police from Loki, I enjoyed the more grounded story of Hawkeye. And I love the tie-ins to the Marvel world. The Avengers play, his emotion of losing his friend, her sister, references to the finger snap, etc. So great points, Charles. Really appreciate you reaching out. And then Greg, one of our top fans, said the electric arrow was my favorite. The way it encompassed the room, but didn't take out Kingpin. Still a cool arrow. My wife liked the Pym arrow and the putty arrow. So thanks for that input, guys. And just as a behind the scenes thing, we're recording this literally a day after Hawkeye came out. So for us to already have those responses, thank y'all so much. Thank y'all for sending those in so quickly, and we appreciate it. Since y'all weren't here, we already got Jay's answer. Mantis, what's your favorite trick arrow of Hawkeye's?
Okay, y'all probably gonna give me for this, but I just love the Pym arrow.
No,
Oh,
that was
great.
my favorite. The
It was
Pym
great.
arrows are a great thing. I love it. Also the arrow that splits into a bunch of shards that has Ant-Man on it. We didn't mention that one, but that was a pretty good one. Because that one showed up in Civil War.
Civil War.
Yes. Yeah. So, that iconic scene from the front of a comic book. I love it. Goatee, what was your favorite?
The Stark arrow.
The Stark arrow.
Oh, that's a good one.
Remind me about that one.
It's the one that explodes.
Yeah, it just explodes. Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that works.
It's essentially him proving Justin Hammer wrong that he can pack more of a punch into a smaller compartment than Justin Hammer can.
Mhm.
So,
Definitely took some
yeah.
inspirations from Michael Bay. Explodes and stuff.
It's really Iron Man 1. He just points at a tank and shoots this small little rocket. That's essentially all it is that rocket on an arrow.
Yeah, it's
That's
great.
awesome.
I love it. So now that will bring us to our question for this week's episode, and I guess we're just going to get everyone's answer, and no one has time to plan. So think hard. What's your favorite Spider-Man suit? Not from the MCU. Not
Okay.
Overall.
Some
Over
behind the
all
scenes
Spider-Man
stuff.
suits we've ever seen. What's your favorite?
I was actually going to ask you, because I wasn't sure what your question was going to be. I was going to ask you if we could have a bonus question about what's everyone's favorite overall Spider-Man suit. So that's great. We did not talk about this before
No,
the
we
show.
didn't.
So I love that we were on the same page with that for a Talk Nerdy segment.
So I'll just go ahead and give you mine. It is the Iron Spider suit that we get in Infinity War. It's my favorite suit, not just from the MCU. The Iron Spider suit in the comic books is amazing.
Oh yeah.
So the Iron Spider suit is probably my favorite. Who wants to go next?
Goatee?
Original Iron Spider suits. Complete red, gold eyes, the full gold.
Yes.
Like that is my favorite suit, the original Iron Spider suit. I'm totally fine with the one the movies gave us, but that is my favorite.
Okay.
More of like a crimson Iron Spider. Yeah. I love that look of that first one.
Chef
All right.
Mantis, do you got one?
I do. It's the Scarlet Spider.
Oh, the one with the blue hoodie over it?
Yeah, the one with the
Yep.
the sleeveless blue hoodie.
So yours is the Scarlet Spider. Jay's, I'm guessing by this photo you just sent us, that's the Homecoming suit, correct?
No. That is actually an exclusive suit that's never appeared in media. It is the suit that is worn by performers at Disney California Adventure.
Oh, okay.
It's just got a bigger logo on the front that looks more classic, and it's got some really nice highlights. I think it's the best adaptation we've gotten. If I'm talking comics, I think I have to go with Goatee, Scarlet Spider.
Okay.
Or the classic gold and red Iron Spider as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, just to be clear, Goatee's was Iron Spider. Mine was Scarlet Spider.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I like them both, though. I do like Ben Reilly's. Yeah.
Same. Yeah. It just looks so good. I don't know why.
The
All
hoodie.
right.
I love the hoodie.
Yeah, the hoodie. My faithful co-host, what is your favorite Spider-Man costume?
Mine's pretty simple. In The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which I think is a very underrated movie, the suit he wears in that is just amazing, in my opinion. I loved watching that suit.
I liked the gold eyes.
It was a really good suit.
But the white ones make the suit. Yeah.
The a little behind the scenes on that, like I said, I love Corridor Crew. If we could ever get a member of them on the show, I'd love to talk to them about like visual effects and stuff. They actually gave Amazing Spider-Man, both 1 and 2, much props for the visual effects it took for the suit, because even though it's supposed to be tight form fitting, when he's falling through the air, they did the ripples right, like as if they were actually parachuting and stuff. So yeah, that suit is amazing. I have to give you that. So listener, our viewer, let us know what your favorite Spider-Man suit is, and it's not constricted to the MCU. Comic books, animated, the video game that we talked about on PS4 that I also haven't gotten to play. So if you have a favorite suit, I mean, if it's Nicolas Cage's, Spider Noir suit, that would be cool too. And we will be talking Spider-Verse #2. So this is the last time we're talking Spider-Man.
Eventually we want to
get that movie out. Yeah.
Eventually, we want to do a history of Spider-Man episode, so that'll come out eventually too. So
yeah,
we have lots of Spider-Man for this.
It'll be a great pairing with this one. But for now, let's get out of this Talk Nerdy segment and get to those ratings.
Yeah.
Be sure to send in your response to this week's Talk Nerdy topic and any other nerdy stuff like episode topic suggestions, fan theories, or cosplay photos so we can put it in future episodes. If you think it's nerdy, we want you to share it. The Talk Nerdy links like the email and website are in the episode description as always. And don't forget you can also call or text the Nerd Line. That number is in the description as well. That's all for now. Let's get back to the show.
All right, so I guess all that's left is to give this film our rating system of out of 10. So this is an out of 10 scale. What would you rate this movie? Let's go with our youngest member, Goatee first.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. All right, 10.
Very
10
nice.
out of 10 batarangs. So, which is weird because we're using a DC scale for a Marvel movie, but whatever. Jay, how many Sasquatch prints?
I'm gonna also say 10. I do want to say real quickly that I think something this movie did is get me so excited for Multiverse of Madness in a way that I don't know if anybody is prepared for what we are getting ready to witness in May. I mean, come on.
Man.
All right.
Okay.
Chef Mantis, how many chef hats?
Do we have to use chef hats? Because I was going to say mantis blades.
That's Mantis blades then. Let's change it to mantis blades. Yeah, that works even better.
Let's go 9.5. I mean, I would rank it up there as the best. Screw it, the best superhero movie next to The Dark Knight, and I would put Infinity War #2.
Okay. All right.
Infinity War.
So not 9.5, but giving it the top slot of best superhero movie ever. I could get with you on that, little brother.
Yep.
Beard? At the moment, I can't remember what my criticism was earlier. It was a very slight criticism. Before that, I'm going to give it 9 out of 10 beards, but I loved every single minute of this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I completely agree. And not since Shang-Chi, I don't think, have I been able to give a 10 bear paws out of 10, but I'm giving it a 10 as well. I would say, and I can't even judge the movie for this, but this was my criticism, and we talked about it a little before, the spoilers. The fact that it's almost as if they used spoilers to promote this movie, and not that that's a bad thing. That's fine. If that's how the media companies want to do it, that's fine. What and we talk about this all the time on the show, what I didn't like was the toxicity that it caused.
The toxicity surrounding it was absolutely ridiculous.
That's not their fault.
People had opinions back and forth. Like Bear and I had tons of discussions where he didn't think it was going to happen. I leaned more towards it was going to happen, and I am fully convinced that Marvel did the leaks. These were not accidental leaks. This was how they promoted the movie. And maybe I'm wrong on that, but that's what I believe in until I see evidence. Otherwise, that's what I will believe.
Right.
And the fact that people were getting so angry with each other and the fandom was so divided for a while. Now, granted, it was very much fixed once the movie was watched and everyone was just loving the fact the movie existed, but that toxicity still existed. Whether or not they would have been in it, if this movie would have not had them in it and you hated the movie just because of that, then you're missing the point of the beautifulness of this movie.
We talked about that in our PSA.
Yes.
And that was my only career. And again, not Marvel's fault, not Disney's fault, not Sony's fault.
Wow.
It's really just the internet's fault.
Yes.
Because as we've said, the internet gives everyone the ability to voice their opinion, but the problem is, and this goes for us too, not everyone needs to be heard when it comes to stuff like that, especially toxicity. Toxicity doesn't have a place in fandom, y'all. So
shut it down.
Shut it down. And we are getting ready to shut this down. Thank y'all so much for watching or listening, for rating and reviewing on all the platforms and all that. Stick around for a quick promo for SciFiCon coming up in April that we're going to have just before the outro plays here. But in the meantime, we'll see y'all next episode. We don't know exactly what we're going to be doing, but you'll know when we know. So in the meantime, I've been the Bear.
I've been the Beard.
We want to remind you, as always, to stay awesome,
stay bearded,
and much love to all of you and to our guest panelists. Thank y'all so much for being here. We'll see y'all next time. Until then, we are out of here.
Mantis out.
Ooh, yeah, promo time, yeah.
What's going on, everybody? It's the Bear from the Bear and the Beard podcast. I'm here at Fan Expo, formerly Wizard World in New Orleans, Louisiana, and I'm here with Garrett and Sven of SciFiCon Lake Charles. Now, guys, tell us a little bit about SciFiCon coming up. I know it's coming up in April. Tell us a little bit about like what it's about and all that. We're gonna try to be there, but hype me up. Let's go.
Okay. So with our 2 years being off from the pandemic and pretty much put us on track to come back 2 years later. This will be our 10th event.
Okay.
We have a humongous guest list this year.
Yeah, I saw Doug Jones and Tim Russ. Yeah.
And for our anime guests.
Probably biggest lineup of anime guests to date?
Yes, about 5 anime guests. We might have another one coming in pretty soon.
Okay.
And we're looking at another sci-fi guest. So we're pushing more anime this year because we're going back to our roots. First 2 shows were anime related, so we want 10th anniversary. We want to celebrate back to our roots.
That makes sense. And Doug Jones, even though a lot of us, in the nerd community, we know him as like Abe from Hellboy and stuff like that, but he's been in a lot of animated stuff as well, voiceover work. Tim Russ, of course, we know him from what was that, Star Trek? Voyager, yeah. So we'll have him in, and that'll be really cool, guys. When is the event?
April 1st through 3rd at the Lake Charles Civic Center in Lake Charles, Louisiana.
Okay. And we're going to try to be there for the Bear and the Beard podcast as well.
Awesome.
So now you say this is your 10th year.
Mm-hmm.
What, how did it start? What does SciFiCon mean? Why is it a thing?
So
I guess is the main question.
So we had a group of people that worked with another convention at one point in time, and we felt that we needed an anime convention versus a sci-fi convention in town.
Okay.
So we started with an anime gaming event in 2011. We had no budget. We rented the venue. 550 people showed up, and we didn't have but 2 months to advertise for because it was an anime event.
Right.
So we said, well, we did one show. Let's do the next one. Next event was about 700 people showed up.
Oh, wow.
Next event after that was about 800 to 900. Until our 5th year count, we had 1,600 people.
Oh, wow.
We were anticipating up to 3,000 to 4,000 for our 10th anniversary in 2020.
Oh, wow.
And that was just single day. That was ticket sales, not in and out.
Right.
That was just sold tickets per person.
Yeah.
It was around 3,000 to 4,000.
Individual people. Yeah.
Individual people, right. And, we were on track. And a month before pandemic happened, we rolled everybody's tickets over if they bought them locally, refunded money when we could, and we said we're going to promise to bring back as many guests as we possibly can.
Okay.
And what did we do? We brought back 90% of our lineup.
Awesome.
And we're adding more.
Yeah, and I know we just saw y'all at MechaCon, so we saw y'all at MechaCon. Mm-hmm. Now we're here at Fan Expo. Do y'all have anything else coming up before y'all's event?
Yeah, we're gonna. We usually set up at the St. Patrick's Day event at McFarland's Pub, which is also in town in Lake Charles. Okay. It's an all-day event, obviously. They let us go out there and set up, and we'll be at CoastCon in Biloxi.
All right. Well, we will be looking forward to that. That is, again, we have April 1st through 3rd, SciFiCon at Lake Charles. And Garrett, Sven, thank y'all for sitting down and talking with us. And we'll see y'all at the con.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Boom, cut the check.
All right.
That's another episode done.
We hope you enjoyed it. New episodes are released every other Friday at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. Check back then, or subscribe so that your device downloads it automatically. Audio episodes are now available pretty much anywhere you get your podcasts, so it's really easy to share them with all your nerdy friends. For YouTube viewers, subscribe and click that little bell so you're notified about all our new content. And Apple users, please don't forget to rate and review on the app. Rating and reviewing helps more nerds find us. Now it's time to thank the rest of the Bearded Bear team. Head researcher and graphic designer, Mama Bear. Master of Marketing, Han Bralo, and all of our other geeks of the Roundtable and friends of the cast. Thank you all so much. And lastly, for more music like this awesome new outro track, go follow Secret Apex on Facebook and Spotify. Links in the description. Talk at you next episode, nerds. See you then.
I'd like to know if you're a friend or an enemy. If so, stay away from around me. Welcome to the end. Are you a fan or just pretend? I'd like to know if you're a friend or an enemy. If so, stay away from around me. Welcome to the end. Are you a fan or just pretend? I'd like to know if you're a friend or an enemy.